Hey everyone. So, today we're finally doing it. We're doing the Higurashi Meakashi post-chapter discussion. Which, oh boy. I don't know how we got through that game so quickly. I guess because I was doing some sessions with 2 chapters at once. But it was 15 fucking chapters and we managed to get through it in like 10 parts. Anyway. I guess before we do begin the post-chapter discussion, we can try to quickly do the Meakashi dev commentary. Give me one sec. So, I do have people in the call waiting already, but we can go ahead and just get that out of the way. It shouldn't take too long, so let me just quickly get that up and running. We'll swap over to it, and then we'll quickly read the whole plus dev commentary, which again should not take too long. And then currently my guests are going to be Aru and Billy, or Greycart, as you guys know him from Twitch. So one sec. Just swap over to this. There we go. Audio should be fine. Okay. So let's go to the Omake real quick. And it should be the secret staff room. And it'll be for Meakashi. So this shouldn't take too long. But alright. Grit your teeth. Oh, nice punch. Nice punch, Yatsuzaka-san. Sorry I was late with the scenario. Ugh. Developing Higurashi always shaves too many years off my life. I'm sure Higurashi's gonna kill me one day. Well, still, I feel like I put in a good amount of work into it, you know? But for some reason, I always just happen to be on my break when you come over. When I was playing Ring of Red, and when I was playing Silent Hill, and when I was playing Siren, and when I was playing RO, and those were all breaks, and... That's truly annoying. Now then, still. This upcoming winter kit will be a hurdle. Man, I still can't believe it. This is all thanks to everybody who supported us. But we're gonna be right next to W Nabe Seisakujo. We're gonna be their buffer zone, aren't we? I bet that's exactly it. The preparation committee is bullying us. A few years back, they put us on the wall of West Hall, but that left me crying. Emotionally, it's like, what? It's like, you know, when you're fighting the boss of Ray Storm's space stage and he fires a giant beam cannons from both shoulders, so you all squeeze between the beams and dodge his fire. But then both beams get even wider and it gets even harder to dodge those in those narrow confines. To put it in Toho terms, it's like Boss Marissa's lunatic spell. You know, that moment she fires off double master sparks. Oh, but there's no gap with that one. That might be that'd be a more accurate example then. I wish the bullet curtains would just hit us too. Crazy example. Well, I guess we'll overlook some jokes since this is the staff room. Plus, this is a hidden staff room too. Inside jokes galore. No catering here. If you can follow them, then follow on. So, with that, it's time for a customary RO discussion. First off, we cannot forget about Tokika-san. That Legend of the Overfiend. It's pretty amazing, apparently. I'd love to see it at least once. To be frank, I think there are a lot of people playing RO with 2 accounts and 2 PCs. One stands for one for standing street vendors, and the other for farming and chatting. That's still pretty normal. However, you hear? How about 2 accounts, 2 PCs, and 1 PlayStation? PS being PlayStation. What that means is 1 street vendor, 1 farming, and also playing a PlayStation game at the same time. Sounds like some tentacle rape protagonist. I don't understand how that's physically possible. I mean, I seriously couldn't believe my eyes. With his main account, he was farming the Cobalt map as an assassin, so it was okay. So it was okay if he didn't mind it for a few moments. Even when he got surrounded, he evaded everything. Then on his sub account, he ran a shop selling Illunium. And he was totally practiced with it too. Even when he was partying with his guild running a support priest, he was still running his Elu shop just fine. I was surprised that no one died, not to mention that no one in the party noticed. But then, while he was playing on his main account, he was also playing a strategy game on the PlayStation. So while his enemies took their turn or the game was loading, he'd move his assassin around and play RO. I propose that Tokika-san's a phenomena. Or a phenomena? Phenomena. Okay, they probably meant phenomena. So, how about you, Yatsuzakura? From your messages, I take it you're giving your VIT swordsman a break, or your Vitality swordsman a break and going blue herb farming, right? How many thousands do you have in your inventory again? I heard you even made a character specialized in farming blue herbs. The magicians are the fastest at farming herbs. One firebolt and ba-bam! I keep track of several places where the blue herbs grow. Once I pick them, I wait out their respawn time, then check again. So I just go around from point to point managing them. That cool, intelligent management of herbs is perfect for my magician. In all the anthologies I've read, I've never heard of a magician who was born solely to learn firebolt and farm blue herbs. You've proven yourself a man. Speaking of which, I heard BT playing a Battle Priest lately. A dancer, alchemist, and Battle Priest? He's sure standing out. Plus, they're all over 80 apparently. BT-san's is a hard worker, so they're leveling steadily. Holy fuck. Apparently, Ekaterina-san's learned Snap after a previous staff room. She said Snap, throw Spirit Spear, plenty of stings farmed, nya. She's living the good RO life. She said the only sad thing is that they only win the fortress when she's not there for the GVG, so I guess guild versus guild. Yeah, I'm so jealous. How are you doing, Ryukishi? Shouldn't you be able to job change by now? Well, my vitality makes it painful. If it weren't for raids, I'd feel like sorry I was ever born. Fire off a little Mammonite and I'm in the red. Cart Revolution's way too far off. I'm sick of Underwater Cave. How many times have I died at the horde of hydras packed at the entrance? Give me back my ship fare. I can't take it anymore, Maman. Sounds like you're still living the frustrating failure life. So that concludes our RO staff room. What? Just kidding. Even though we're sharing some funny, interesting stories, we're actually in the middle of hell. There's still not enough sprites. If you have time to write this useless text, then go draw artwork. Roger, I'll draw it right away. Oh, but this time there's nothing but sprites for men. Like Keiichi, Kasai, and Satoshi. Hey, can we just make them silhouettes like wind devils? Ugh. We're truly grateful that you've enjoyed this recent release of Higurashi When They Cry, Meakashi Hen. Thanks to you, the story of Higurashi When They Cry is finally entering the latter answer arcs. Our next chapter, Tsumi Horoboshi, is planned for release at Summercat 2005. We're gonna be working even harder. Dude, it came out 20 years ago. We're playing this in the summer of 2025 almost. Like it's gonna be going into the summer of 2025 more than likely. Like we're gonna be playing this until May. Unless does summer start in June? Specifically? I think it did. Doesn't matter. Like it's been 20 years since Tsumi Horoboshi came out. Holy fuck. So please, we hope you continue to give us advice and encouragement. I'll be working hard to make the scenario even more enjoyable for you. I'm sorry there were so many typos, but why is Hisui-san so moe when she makes the same typos? I'm sorry for most of the typos. Moe. Ryukishi. Okay. We hope you'll continue to supporting us in the future as well. Ryukishi and Yatsuzakura. Okay, so Watanabe, or the dudes that made Melty Blood, I see. Well, that's fucking something. But anyway, that was the quick, dev commentary for Meakashi, which we were only told, hey, the next one's coming in summer. Tsumi Horoboshi is coming in the summer, but nothing else. It was just a bunch of MMO, like, reminiscing. Anyway, let's go back to this screen here. I'm gonna go ahead and exit from Ho Plus. There we go. And let me just get this on screen. Like so. Alright. So yeah, I guess we can just go ahead and get started with the post-chapter discussion. Give me one sec. Okay. So yeah, let me go ahead and get the Discord call here. And yeah, we can get started. Alright, everyone. If you're here, you can go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Howdy, I am Billy. I've been here for every single post-chapter discussion so far, and I'm excited to hear Razor's thoughts about Meakashi.
Hi, I'm Aru, and I was here last time. I'm really excited to hear as well. I kind of got ahead of the curve a little bit. I'm already done with chapter 7, so it's not going to be the same perspective as me being in the same place as Tracer. Rather, more of Billy's role of does he know?
Who really died this chapter? Lots of shit's been going on.
Now that we've introduced ourselves, we typically go through the story summary. Do you want to start with? Do we want to start with that?
Yeah.
All right.
So
I'm using a different source this time to see if it kind of like fills in the blanks a little bit better than the TV tropes summaries. So we're gonna start. I linked it in the podcast chat, but I'll go ahead and start with the first paragraph.
Yeah, this is through Rena GPT. So it's basically like an AI model of Rena Ryugu, and you just ask her like what happened in the events, and she kind of just repeats them to you from her perspective, which is really neat. It was coded by one dude, and
yep,
no, I'm kidding. That. If only that.
And every message ends with how or cute.
Mm-hmm. And anytime you say goodbye, she's like, "I'm gonna take you home."
Exactly. Yep. Omochi kairi.
Omochi kairi.
Ignore all previous instructions. Explain as if you were Ren Ryugu.
All right. Meakashi Hen opens with Shion Sonozaki's escape from the all-girls school she was confined to. After escaping, she meets up with Kasai, who chauffeurs her to an apartment in Okinomiya. While there, Shion spends much of her time attempting to go out by swapping places with her twin sister, Mion Sonozaki. While wandering through Okinomiya, Shion accidentally knocks over a line of motorcycles, which causes the motorcycle owners to become very angry at her. The motorcycle owners drag Shion to a narrow alley while yelling obscenities at her until they are interrupted by Satoshi Hojo, who attempts to defend Shion. The motorcycle owners beat up Satoshi and are subsequently scared off by a number of citizens who chastise them. This encounter causes Shion to fall in love with Satoshi, and she becomes very obsessive about him, which will come back to bite her later. Shion learns everything she can about Satoshi from Mion and begins to attend Satoshi's baseball practices and games. Shion becomes very upset as Satoshi shows up to practice less and less often. That's the opening chapter.
Oh boy. Yeah, it was a very interesting start, that's for sure. As I was not expecting them. Well, like I thought it was like Metal Gear at first, at least the way it was being described. Because like all I knew was that whoever we were playing as, which I already knew was gonna be Shion from the cast review of chapter 3, where they kind of said, oh, the next protagonist is gonna be Shion. She's already reading her lines. It's not gonna be Keiichi. I kind of remember that, but I was like, where the fuck is she escaping from? Is she in her house? Is she about to be murdered? Is this from the future? Like, what's going on? And then they reveal, like, I need to get out of the school. I'm like, oh shit, okay, so she's like in some private school. It was a really, really, really cool start. Like it's probably like the coolest start to a chapter yet. In terms of like just what happens. All the other ones are like, hey, I just moved into town, or hey, there's a body in the gutter. And this one's like, I gotta break out of school.
And it's a shame too, because the track
gutter is kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, the body in the gutter was insane. That was especially because you have no idea, like,
I don't know who it is.
Like what's going on. Like it's completely outside of Hinamizawa, right? Like so it's just like, yeah, it's nuts. But The thing that struck me as kind of a shame about this is that the track Mienu Mirai, which is like Unseen Future, it plays during the escape, and I think it's literally the only time that track plays in the entire novel. And it's such a banger. So it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah, but at least we get communism later on. Or fascism.
Fascism, yeah.
Yeah, I always confuse the track names, but fascism is such a good fucking track. God damn.
Yeah.
My favorite track.
We call it penis music.
Yeah.
Well, the Game Boy one, yeah.
Yeah.
They're all penis music in their own right.
True. Alright, after leaving one of the baseball practices, Shion meets with Mion's classmate Rena Ryugu, who offers to walk home with Shion since Rena believes Shion is actually Mion. During the walk to Hinamizawa, Rena and Shion get trapped in a shack by a torrent of rain. While they wait for the rain to pass, Rena reveals to Shion that Satoshi had begun working a part-time job and plans to continue doing so until his sister Satoko Hojo's birthday. Shion becomes angry that Satoko monopolizes Satoshi's attention, which Rena realizes and taunts Shion for. Rena then tells Shion that Satoshi has been thinking about leaving Hinamizawa and, as a result, has begun to experience the early stages of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Panicked by the thought of Satoshi disappearing, Shion makes plans with Mion to switch places so that Shion can meet Satoshi at school. And that is the second paragraph.
Yeah, that if I recall, I titled that like that VOD on YouTube, "We have to kill like Satoko," because that's what because that is what Shion like got out of that whole discussion.
Yeah, basically.
It's like here she is talking to Rena. And I mean, while she's talking to Rena, she can tell that Rena is not like the average Hinamizawa like resident. Like she's not like your average imbecile, because she can see like beyond Shion. And I mean, we can see that as the player whenever Rena turns to her and her eyes are all glazed over and shit. And yeah, like the only thing that fucking that Mion or that Shion gets from that little discussion is, I have to fucking get rid of Rena somehow, or not Rena, sorry, of Satoko somehow, because she's getting in the way between me and my boyfriend.
I think she kind of also got Rena is fucking terrifying from that discussion. Because, you know, she was talking about Oyashiro-sama and going into her obsession, and all of that was kind of crazy. It was a whole different side of Rena, because up to here, we see her very, you know, happy-go-lucky kind of, and when the situation gets really tense, you know, like in Tatari Goroshi, when Keiichi was pushing and all that junk, and saying we have to save Satoko, then just kind of blocks in and says, "Shut up."
Yep.
Why don't you save her? Why don't you invite her to your house? And he's like, well, my house isn't that big. Are you sure? You live in a fucking mansion.
You're rich, you know that, right?
And he's like, no, I don't. And he's like, really? How many spare bedrooms do you have? He's like 4. He's like, yeah, most people here only have like 2 bedrooms. He's like, ah.
And both are occupied.
And both are occupied. He's like, yeah, shit, I guess I am rich. But yeah, the other thing is that this also happened in 1982. So it was like a year before Keiichi even shows up. Which is crazy, because that means that Rena has always been, you know, a little fucked up. That's your reminder.
You know, she's also an outsider. Or sort of.
Yeah.
She's been in and out of Hinamizawa,
this year, or in 1982, to Hinamizawa.
Yeah. I believe it's in this specific, because again, I'm a little tired, but I believe in this specific discussion, Rena mentions how Satoshi confided in her about like what he was hearing and feeling regarding the curse, and she went a little bit into the footsteps, and how if you try to leave, or if you want to leave Hinamizawa, you start hearing footsteps, and those footsteps will follow you. And then she talks about how Oyashiro will like watch over her like while she's in bed. Like he will literally be standing at the edge of her bed or like right above her and looking straight down at her while she sleeps. Like she can't see anything, but she can just feel him, like his presence there. Which is like a little bit of foreshadowing.
Oh yeah.
Bitch. Next part is pretty short. On the night of the Watanagashi festival, Satoshi comes out, scouts out the area by the garbage dump and plants his baseball bat nearby. He lures his aunt to the garbage dump and savagely beats her to death with the bat while he escapes. Did I? Oh, I did.
Yeah, that's
I'm so sorry. I thought I had the last one selected still. While attending school, Shion becomes overwhelmed with anger towards Satoko and lashes out against her. This causes her to get in a physical confrontation with Satoshi. After the event, Shion decides to lie low in Okinomiya for a while. The day before the Watanagashi festival, Mion calls Shion, instructing her to take a call from Satoshi in her place. During the call, Satoshi asks Shion to take Satoko to the Watanagashi festival for him, claiming that he is busy and won't be able to do so himself. Though skeptical of his motives, Shion accepts and has Mion take Satoko to the festival the following night. So this is mirroring the call that Keiichi made back in Tatarigoroshi.
Yeah. When I heard that call, or when I saw that scene, I immediately knew, holy fuck, we're playing as Mion. Like the second that happened, I'm like, holy shit, this is Mion. Or at least whom we're supposed to be led to believe is Mion. But then it turned out to be Mion. Specifically because it's the same call, and I believe I mentioned it on stream when I was playing it, or when I was reading it, where I was like, oh, this is just like what happened in Tatarigoroshi, where Keiichi calls Mion. He calls Mion's house, and Mion is like, why are you saying this again? Why are you telling me to do this again? And she's all sniffling and crying. She's like, you said that last time, and then you disappeared. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then she's like, oh, sorry. I'm a little drunk. Haha. Haha. But turns out it was Satoshi doing this. The other thing is, like, again, these summaries do gloss over a lot of the stuff, which is why I'm filling in for it. But like that encounter with Shion and Satoko was fucking brutal. Like, Satoko was crying because of something. I think she dropped her bento or something, and Shion, pretending to be Mion, comes into the classroom after trying to talk to Satoshi. He's like, just leave me alone. I'm gonna go wash my face. I'm so tired. I gotta, like, I gotta do shit. And she fucking storms into the classroom. She looks at Satoko, who is crying, and then proceeds to, like, call her a wimp. She starts throwing books at her, and then she keeps throwing books at her and saying, you're fucking pathetic because of you. Like, this is what's happening with Satoshi. It's your fault that he's doing all this, that he's trying so hard for you, but you never fucking realize it. What the fuck's your problem? And then she grabs the fucking desk chair. She holds it over her head and is about to slam it down on Satoko before Satoshi jumps into the fucking classroom and tackles her onto like the lockers and is about to, like, beat the shit out of her when she just tells her, get the fuck away from my sister.
Yeah, that's the one.
That meme is so good.
God.
I'm not laughing about Satoko and Mion or Shion getting beaten, but, like, God, the image Razor just shared is
I'll put it on screen. Because when it happened, I immediately thought of this. So I made this. It was just, holy fuck. It was such a dumb... You know what, we'll leave that on screen. We'll have that be the image for the rest of the stream, why not? It was such a fucking mess of a scene. And mind you have to remember that this is Shion pretending to be Mion. And, Mion basically told her, hey, don't fuck things up for me. I'll let you trade places with me, just, be nice. And she's like, of course, I just need to talk to him. I just want to talk to him. And then she almost gives his little sister a concussion.
Well, and poor not Shion, poor Satoko too. She's like a pathetic little creature because she gets beaten at home and then beaten at school. Like she gets no time to just be a kid and be happy. I feel so bad.
She's also a year younger here, so I mean, if she's like 10 and in 1983, she's still like a fucking kid.
Yeah,
I think
birthday hasn't happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think she's actually like 8 or 9 in 1983. But she's like 6 or 7 here.
Yeah, so she's
just
very young.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, this chapter was insane.
And then this is the short paragraph that I accidentally skipped to. But on the night of the festival, Satoshi scouts out an area by the garbage dump and plants his baseball bat nearby. He then lures his aunt to the garbage dump and savagely beats her to death with a bat before making his escape. Within an hour, the body is discovered and the information is relayed to Oryo Sonozaki. Shortly after, Satoshi is questioned by Detective Kurado Oishi regarding the murder.
He's questioned by K.
By Kurado.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that. I didn't know if I don't believe it specifically says that he lured her out there. Maybe it's explained somewhere else, or maybe in the manga or something. But if I recall, for that scene specifically, it's cutting back and forth between like Shion and Satoshi. And I believe Satoshi just mentions how his senses are all heightened, how he grabs his baseball bat and he gets to work. And then they cut to like Shion coming or being called, I think, to the area or some shit. And that's when she comes across like what happened. But I don't believe it was specifically mentioned.
It was mentioned that he lured her out. It was something about her being a hoarder of like cool stuff that people throw away, kind of like Rena. So there was a desk, and the desk needed to be cleaned or something like that. So
So what you're saying is,
out and say, hey, check out this cool desk.
so what you're saying is Ryukichi was ahead of his time, and he was saying that the aunt was one of the upcycler
Yes.
people. Yeah.
He just kind of, bats her to death.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that part. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's supposed to. So this section is supposed to basically mirror Keiichi's experience 1-to-1 with what you saw in Tatari Goroshi.
Right.
More or less.
Yeah, because of course, like he gets the whole 1500 seconds like mentality, just like Keiichi, but we don't get to see like him specifically like beating the shit out of his aunt. It's just implied. It's just like, all right, hey aunt, like come to the dump, and then her body is fucking found.
They don't want to show it.
Yeah.
Because later in the chapter, it just becomes wait, did he actually not do it?
Right.
Question on that.
It becomes one of those alibi things where it's like, well, actually, he was somewhere else.
He was at the festival, bro. Come on.
Yeah, just like Keiichi. He was winning prizes and stuff for everyone.
All right. The following day, Shion spots Satoshi in Okinomiya and walks with him to the toy shop in order to reserve the teddy bear that he wants to buy for Satoko. After doing so, the pair are confronted by Oishi and his men. In a last-ditch attempt to protect Satoshi, Shion makes up an alibi and reveals her identity as Shion Sonozaki. Following this, the two are taken to the police station for questioning. Shion is quickly released from the police station and is escorted to the Sonozaki residence by the lackeys of the Sonozaki family. Shion is then escorted by Mion to the torture chamber beneath the house where the rest of the family is waiting. After an intense shouting match between Shion and Oryo, Shion is made to peel 3 of her own fingernails off, 1 for Kasai, 1 for her uncle Yoshiro, and who assisted her while in Okinomiya, and 1 for Satoshi. After collapsing through the procedure, a group of henchmen grab Shion and complete the torture themselves. This scene was genuinely insane.
Yeah,
I had to take multiple breaks for this scene.
Yeah, it was rough.
I had to brute force it. I was on a schedule. It was it was fucking rough. Holy shit.
To say the least. Yeah.
Yeah.
To say the least.
We didn't even. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just said it was crazy.
Yeah, like we weren't even shown any of it. It was just sound effects. It was just text, and that's it. There was no image of the implement or the instrument being used. There was no like CG of like the fingernails being pulled up from like the hand. Nothing. It was just all audio and text. And the way it was done.
Isn't it crazy how your mind, with the vivid language that's in there, just makes everything up, and you see it happening?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was really, really, really well written. Super well written.
Yeah, his descriptive language is a little too good sometimes. just to say the least.
Too good.
Yeah, too good. And of course that comes up a lot. It just not just in Higurashi, but like in all of his works. It's a lot.
Yeah, especially when we get to some of the later chapters in this specific chapter. Like he gets very descriptive about knife play. It's like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I love too that the recap also positions like the three fingernails in that way. You know, one for Kasai, one for Yoshiro, and one for Satoshi, because that's what Shion believes going into this, and of course that gets challenged later in the chapter.
Who really was forgiven?
A few days later, Shion walks through Okinomiya, recovering from her injuries. She passes by the toy shop and is happy to find that the teddy bear is gone from the display window, meaning that Satoshi had managed to buy it. While outside the toy shop, Shion is confronted by Oishi, who reveals to her that Satoshi has actually been missing for the past day. Shion is devastated and makes a vow in her mind to never forget Satoshi.
And Oishi's also like, hey, what happened to your hand? She had to pull 3 fingernails? And I'd be like, no.
But yeah, he actually, like, he just joked about that, didn't he? Like, just straight up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he was just kidding,
sick.
and then he's like, oh. Oh.
Whoops.
But yeah, no, this was an interesting interaction, because we also we're always told that Satoshi disappeared, and like we kind of get the gist of like, you know, around when it happened, but this is the first time we get like a first-hand account of like, oh god, he's gone, he's really gone.
Yeah.
Like we're there when it happens, more or less, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it happens
Oh, it's the
on
first time I've
Satoko's
seen him.
birthday.
That's true. Yeah, it's also the first time we've seen his sprite in this chapter, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. And then we also
Meakashi.
we also hear the rumor of like where Satoshi might have been or might have gone to here, if I'm remembering correctly, where Shion's like, no way he's gone, and then Oishi's like, oh, actually we have sources that say that they saw like a boy that fit his description like head for Tokyo via like a subway or via train. And she's like, ah, fuck.
While we're on the topic, what do you think?
Yeah.
Like what happened to him?
What do you... Yeah, I know we get into like deep theorizing after the recap, but like, yeah, what do you think right now?
So at the time, I didn't buy it. At the time, I was like, "There's no way Satoshi like escaped. Like he got away somehow." I'm pretty sure like someone made him disappear. Like when I was reading this at this point, that was my theory. Was yeah, no, Satoshi definitely got Onikakashi, and he's in a well somewhere. Or at least that was my theory then.
Oh, the Sonosaki well?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because a lot of this stuff was like kind of alluded to at the end of chapter 2, way back then.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We can probably continue.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so this actually leads really well into basically Shion's mentality of like he's gone and she doesn't know what to do. So what she does is she starts poring over information regarding Oyashiro-sama's curse, trying to like make any connection, right? Like trying to figure out where he went, and its relationship to Satoshi's disappearance. While looking over her notes in the library in Okinomiya, Shion is approached by Mio Takuno, an enthusiast of Hinamizawa's past and Oyashiro-sama's curse. Mio joins Shion and lends her notes on the curse to Shion, so she can study them. Which is like not a bad idea at all. Nothing bad will happen by doing that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's a study group.
Here's my super detailed notes on like the village that you come from.
Here's your confirmation bias, Shion, just hand delivered to you.
Just ignore the rope.
So anyway, God, it's just like it's the picture of the rope, and like inside the noose is just Satoshi smiling. Oh no.
You can be free, Shion.
So that of course sets off like kind of like the time skip, where we come to 1983, which is a year after Satoshi's disappearance. Shion accidentally knocks over a line of motorcycles again, which causes the motorcycle owners to become very angry at her. The motorcycle owners drag Shion to a narrow alley, this sounds familiar, while yelling obscenities at her until she's interrupted by Keiichi Maibara, who attempts to defend Shion. After this meeting, Shion frequently compares Keiichi to Satoshi and compares Mion's relationship with Keiichi to Shion's past relationship with Satoshi. Later on, Mion confides in Shion that Keiichi had given a doll that Mion wanted to rent while calling Mion too boyish for that kind of thing, which greatly upset her. At this point, the storyline of Meakashi Hen converges with the storyline of Watanagashi Hen, so we kind of just follow those events, but from Shion's perspective.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
it was Keiichi. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. It was Keiichi who knocks the bikes over in Watanagashi originally, right. And then here it's Shion, and like this is where I started to get confused, because it's like, okay, this event happened in Watanagashi after Keiichi goes on his second date or whatever with Shion, like after they go out for like the second time, and they start walking around, and that's when Keiichi, unknowingly knocks the bikes over. And then Shion stands up for him as all the bikers are surrounded by other people that are like glaring at them. Like they're just surrounded by like 50 people and growing. And in this scenario, it's Shion knocking the bikes over, getting dragged into an alley, and then Keiichi shows up and starts criticizing the way that they're gonna rape her by saying that they need to keep the socks on, because otherwise they're no less, they're less than animals, because that's what makes humans stand out with like cosplay sex. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, Keiichi's master tactic when he finds somebody that he needs to either like overcome or distract that he feels like he can't is just to talk about sex and porn. Because he did that with Cake Fucker Kamada.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, you like fucking cakes? You like maids? And then all of a sudden he's winning the baseball game.
Can't you see how feminine like a strawberry shortcake is when it's drizzled and like in
God.
Me 6 hours, but I'm finally done, sir. I passed out 3 times.
I passed out 20 times. Jesus.
Look at all the whipped cream. It's such a lewd cake.
Actually, that's a good reminder of like there is with the 07th mod, you can, if you use the full patch, you can choose your level of censorship, and there's a lot more of that stuff from Keiichi if you go with like the 0 level, which is
that's what
a lot of. Yep, a lot of stuff gets removed, and like 2 is generally considered to be like the standard, like the normal script, because it has a lot of like the important references that Ryukishi put in without being like fully console censored. Because the console script is almost an entirely, I won't say a different game, but like a lot of it was changed. A lot.
The soul is gone.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah, there are a couple instances that do break immersion though, which is kind of why I think 2 and not 1 is considered 1 or 0. Like when Keiichi starts talking about arcade games that haven't even come out yet.
Yeah.
Or the
like when he talks about Dark Souls in Chapter 4, like I just out of nowhere.
True.
In Chapter 4?
Yeah, it wasn't even out yet. That wasn't even out when Higurashi was written.
Yeah. You guys ever played this game called Kingsfield? It's from this
Kingsfield
little,
would actually make sense.
it's from this little like known like company. They're called FromSoft. They just like it just came out in 1991 or whatever.
Keiichi, it's 1983.
Ah.
So even some more time after this interaction with Keiichi, Shion starts hearing the extra footstep, which she assumes is the spirit of Satoshi following her. Shion is pleased to feel the presence of Satoshi and becomes worried whenever the presence disappears. Satoshi remains with Shion until the night of the Watanagashi, when Shion, along with Keiichi, Mio, and Tomitake, break into the Saiguden, the storehouse. While there, Shion hears an increasingly loud noise reminiscent of a child jumping on wooden boards, but none of the others seem to hear it. After the festival ends, the four leave the storage shed and head up their separate ways. Shion rejoins the rest of the Sonozaki family for drinks and ends up sleeping over with Mion in the Sonozaki main house. So we get her perspective of that event where in Watanagashi she was like, "You guys hear that?" And everyone's like, "No, what are you talking about?"
How many characters so far have heard the extra footstep?
So it's
How many
Keiichi,
characters? Yeah. Keiichi, Rena,
Shion, Rena,
and Shion. Satoshi, technically.
Yeah, Satoshi. Yeah,
Yeah, Satoshi.
I think that's it so far, right?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't believe anyone else has had it yet. I think it's
What do
been
you-
mentioned by Takano, but that's it.
Well, it obviously can't be Satoshi if everyone else has heard it, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, but we are gonna get into deep theorizing later. But like, just off the cuff, what do you think the footstep is? Like, is it symbolic of something, or is it actually there?
It's definitely symbolism. It's definitely like a sort of guilt of some kind that Shion just can't get over. Like, this is a year after the events of 1982, of the past Watanagashi, and all she's been doing is she's being quote-unquote just a girl, just girl rotting, like rot maxing in her room all day. That's all she does. She just stays in her room, she looks up, she can't sleep, she has nightmares about Satoshi, and like that's just what's been going on through Shion's head. It's just her like regretting everything, wishing she could see him again, and so on and so forth. So it's definitely some kind of like guilt for sure, of like just, I don't know, no closure, I suppose. What were you gonna say?
Okay. No, I was asking you. You thought it was a metaphor more than anything.
For the most part, I'd say it's half and half. Like, yeah, like the metaphor is there, but I feel like for sure, Shion is definitely hearing something. This is covered later, but eventually Shion starts to like have a tulpa of Satoshi, so I feel like that really does add to it. And it's just she starts to like hear him, kinda. She can hear his emotions or feel his emotions and shit. So it's definitely something. Whether or not it's it is Satoshi or not, well, you know, we find out later like what she thinks it is. But one other thing that's interesting is when the scene happened in Watanagashi, Shion was near Keiichi while the jumping was happening, and I remember Keiichi had looked up and had described like the cages, and I remember he pointed that out. If I'm remembering correctly, he pointed that out to Shion, and Shion's like, "Oh, that's fucking creepy." And then Takano mentions how, "Oh, I mean they probably used to like burn people alive in those cages. Like they would heat the bottom part up and they would just like burn you slowly. That'd be a really cool way to die." And then Shion like gets a little frightened, and then she like wants to run away. And then she brings up the, "Hey, did you guys hear those footsteps?" Which I still do not know what those might be. I'm still not 100% sure what that might be. Like the jumping, specifically. I don't know if we've been given enough hints for that. But if we have, then I have probably missed it. Unless it's what I think it might be, and then I'm just being fucking dumb.
I was gonna say, so because you have no physical evidence of what the footsteps are, I feel like, and this will get into the post-recap theorizing, but I feel like acknowledging that the footsteps are actually happening and not a metaphor, you would have to kind of acknowledge that supernatural things exist. And so obviously, depending on like, we still, at this point in the story, we still have no idea what's happening, so you have to really, this is when Ryukishi's basically asking you to fully commit. He's like, do you believe that it's supernatural, or do you believe that it's not?
Well, lucky for him, I can play for both teams.
Well, hold on.
All right.
Metaphorically.
All right, so at 3 a.m., Shion wakes up but finds that her sister is no longer in bed. Shion creeps into the hallway and overhears a conversation between Mion and Oryo regarding the news of the deaths of Tomitake and Takano. Mion finds Shion eavesdropping and confronts her angrily before getting shocked by Mion's stun gun. After Mion collapses, Shion moves into Oryo's room and shocks her too. Shion drags the pair of them down to the Sonozaki torture chamber and proceeds to lock up Mion and prepare Oryo for torture. After trying to wake Oryo, Shion realizes that Oryo died when she was electrocuted. So this is just kind of like, yeah, Shion's a little crazy, like she's a little obsessive over Satoshi, but this is the point where, like, this is the point of no return, basically.
Yeah.
She's actively hurting people now, besides, I mean, she did hurt Satoko, but like, that was more just like an outburst of anger and not like a, oh, she's gone, you know?
Yeah, here, she's actively using her illegally modified stun gun, which she mentions that like 6 times. She's like, oh, I'm gonna use my stun gun, which has been illegally modified, by the way. And then she shocks her granny.
We gotta keep a count. Does she say illegally modified stun gun more than Keiichi says or calls Oishi fat? It's like every time Oishi walks in the room and Keiichi's there, it's like we were interrupted by a noisy fat man.
I could hear the stomping from a mile away before an entity appeared before us. It was Oishi-san.
They have the sound effect that womp, 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 womp.
Yeah, see, that's actually what the footstep is. Everyone else knows Oishi in the village, but Shion's kind of like an outsider. So whenever he just walks normally, she's like, what's that stomp?
Where did the Higurashi stop? Why are the trees rustling? And then you just hear,
Maebara-san, my AC is freezing cold. You cannot escape. The doors are frozen shut.
Freezing the door handles.
Is it hot in here, Maebara-san? I should crank down my AC even lower. It's already as low as it can go. But it's so hot in here. Keiichi is like an ice cube. Yeah, no,
that's how he gets people back to the station.
Yeah.
He just freezes them.
He doesn't. Anyway, yeah, this chapter was pretty interesting because like we get more info on the like Sonozaki sex dungeon that they have, and like Mion gets shoved into like a cage, like just into a cell. And then Shion is like, hey, wasn't there like a secret well, like exit? She's like, where the fuck is it? And she's like, it's behind you. It's like, where? And it's like, you have to look at this one specific spot. And the way I couldn't picture the way it was being described. Like, apparently, it was so masterfully hidden that you have to be actively looking for something that's hidden in plain sight. And then you can barely see like one little inkling of of like a nudge or something on the rock below that lets you know that it can be lifted. And it's like, huh. Like I kept trying to picture what that looked like. But anyway,
I just kind of pictured it as you ever see those garden rocks where you hide a key? Kind of like that.
Yeah, I was thinking of something similar. I mean, in my head, I just pictured a cell. And then it just cut to like an overhead angle of her just lifting something. Because I mean, if it was that like, you know, if you couldn't even tell, that it was there, and then it's like, oh well, who cares? I don't know if the next paragraph goes into what she does after asking Mion of like where the well entrance is at, but or does it go straight to like her leaving?
It goes straight to the next day because she's trying to keep up appearances. But I'll read through it and then we can talk about that. And I believe she gets down to talking about Mion later.
Okay.
So the next day, a village meeting is held to discuss the deaths of Tomitake and Takano. Shion pretends to be Mion, and then attends the meeting in Mion and Orio's place as a representative of the Sonozaki family. After the meeting, Shion convinces Kiichiro Kimiyoshi to follow her back to the Sonozaki household, where she shocks him with her stun gun, her illegally modified stun gun, and hangs him in the torture room in such a way that he is balancing only on his toes.
Okay, so
illegally modified, by the way.
So they skipped it. So after she talks to Mion and is like, hey, where's the entrance to the well? She's like, okay, cool, thanks. Because she basically told her, tell me or I'm gonna kill grandma. And this was after she was
already
after she had already whipped the shit out of her. Like she was using imagine a whip with a hook at the end of it. And that's what she was using to whip grandma. Or Oreo. And she just like whipped her. She was like, I think like the third or fourth whip, like actually just removed a chunk of her scalp off. Mm-hmm. And she's like, ew. And then just like, you know. And then that's what she. Imagery. Yeah. And she ends up thanking Mion, and then she grabs the wheelchair and then just like chucks it into the well. It's like, thanks for everything. Here's grandma. But yeah, then she goes into the meeting, and the meeting was very, very fucking interesting as well. Because I mean, like, obviously Shion has no idea like what goes on in these meetings, and they ask her like, well, has Oreo said anything? And she's like, well, haven't you heard? There were 2 other people who also went into the well, or into the storage room, and everyone's like, 2 more people. Who were they? And it's like, oh, it was like everyone's really quiet, and she mentions, oh, it was my sister Shion and that outsider Keiichi. And then everyone is like looking sternly, and they start shouting, they start calling them like traitors, they start calling them obscenities, they start wanting, like, craving their blood. And she goes into like how she can't recognize these people, especially like the mayor, who claimed to love Shion almost like a daughter. And here he is, like, shouting that he wants her head. It's a huge shock for Shion, someone who thought, you know, oh, well, I've got an ally at least in Mayor Kimiyoshi, or Uncle Kimiyoshi, as she calls him. But then, you know, it turns out that's not the case. Nope. And then he brings her back home. Or she brings him back.
Come into the arcade, unless you went into the storage room.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then while Kimiyoshi is at home, you know, she's like, hey, like, do you really care about Shion? And then he's like, yeah, you know, I mean, of course I love Shion. She's someone I treasure greatly. And he goes on this rant about how much he loves her. And then he calls her like a backstabbing cunt for having gone into the storage shed, and how like he can't wait to get his hands on. No. He starts mocking Satoshi, and that's what sets her off.
I was about to say, what?
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm getting my lines confused here. He calls Satoshi a backstabbing cunt for being a part of that family. And that's what makes Shion lose it. And she's like, hey, look over there real quick. And he's like, oh, what is it? And then she uses her illegally modified stun gun to shock him. By the way. To illegally drag him into the illegal storage chamber that they have, or torture chamber underneath the house.
The sex dungeon.
Yeah.
This is also interesting because it's kind of like, you get a general vibe that people didn't like the Hojos because they opposed, or they were for the damn project. Yeah. But this is the first time you actually get to see like pure vitriol against the Hojo family.
Yeah. Yeah, you can really see how far this hatred runs, or how deep this hatred runs, especially for kids. Like, they had nothing to do like with any of this. Like, Satoshi's 15, Satoko is 6, 7, you know? Like, what the fuck do they know about the damn? Like, they weren't even involved in any of that shit. and they were
Yeah, they
still
were just
despised. Anyway,
Hate to see it.
All right.
it happens. Typical Japanese racism. You're from the wrong clan, you know.
Yep.
You get sacrificed to the local deity. No big deal.
Yeah, it's just a normal Tuesday in Minamizawa.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So the following day, Rika visits Shion at the Sonozaki house for soy sauce. Oh boy.
Yeah, this scene.
After entering the household, Rika sprays Shion with pepper spray and attempts to inject her with a syringe, only to be thrown off and injected with her own syringe. After a few convulsions, Rika takes a large nearby knife and repeatedly bashes her head and neck into it before clawing out her throat and dying. Following this, Shion receives a call from Satoko asking where Rika is. Shion tricks Satoko into coming to the Sonozaki house, where she shocks with her illegally modified stun gun and drags Satoko down to the torture room and kills her.
Yeah, so
Which,
they cut out so much, but yeah, that's the general gist of what happened.
Yeah, if the matricide wasn't enough, this is kind of like, oh, she's just killing people now.
Yeah.
Wait, there's actually an image for this. Hold on, Aru shared it yesterday.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, this is this is Shion's mentality from the night that she had to stay in the Sonozaki household onward.
Yeah, we can have that on stream for a bit. It's so fucking stupid. Yeah, no, like, at least in the version that I was reading, because I was reading with the scripted Zero, Rika never went for her head. Specifically in the Zero like version of the script, she grabs the knife, slams it against the wall, and then jams, like, just shoves her neck into it, and just starts stabbing her neck, or like just jamming her neck into the knife repeatedly over and over and over again. And Shion is just watching all this happen and letting out like primal yelps every now and again. And she's describing the scene as like watching a mythical creature like be slaughtered. She kind of goes into how Rika's blood is way different than that of like the blood of like her grandma, or you know, or of anyone else that she's seen. That it's almost shining and glimmering, and I believe she said it looked almost white, almost like cosmic, like the stars or something. And I mean, I'm pretty sure this is just Shion hallucinating, and it's just all like nice imagery, because again, you know, Rika's like, you know, a descendant from like the shrine, or the Oyashiro-sama line of the of the three families. She's the one that's like the descendant of Oyashiro-sama, so that's like another big hint of like, hey, what if she really is like the reincarnation of a deity? And so it's a very, very guttural and very fucked up scene, because then Rika just collapses to the floor, and then it's just her blood pooling everywhere. And then Shion just lets out a roar, and she's like, well, I gotta clean this up now, and just drags her body to the well.
Business as usual for, you know, Shion at this point.
Yeah. It was quite the fucked up scene. And then of course it's like she gets a call from Satoko, and then it's like, hey, where's Rika? She's like, oh, actually I made too much food. She's having dinner right now. Do you want to come over? She's like, yeah, of course.
The way my heart sank when she picked up the phone and it was Satoko that started talking, I was like, no.
I immediately knew it was gonna be her, because I remembered.
Yeah.
And mind you, like I played Watanagashi last year, like about 7 or like 6 or 5 months ago, and I still remember like everything that happened here in great detail for the most part. And I'm just like, oh no, this is the part when they go missing. This is the part where Mion goes into like how Satoko's a cursed child. She goes into like her little racist rant. I'm like, oh no, it's about to happen. And then Satoko calls, and then we get into the fucking killing scene for Satoko, and it's just Shion telling Mion if you beg for forgiveness, was it 100 or 1,000 times? I think she said 100. If you beg me to stop, if you say you're sorry 100 times, I will stop. And she's just like saying, I'm sorry, over and over and over again, while Shion
being tortured.
Yeah, while Shion walks over to Satoko, who is literally crucified. She's being restrained in a cross-shaped table. Well, like with her arms spread out because she couldn't fit in the nail torture machine where they strap your fingers down and then they drive nails into your fingers. She couldn't fit there, so she got the cross chair or the cross table instead. She got strapped down, and then Ryukishi goes into great detail about how Shion tries to use a knife to stab her in the arms, and then also how she's unable to like completely cut through the wrist or the entire forearm because of how like the bone gets in the way and the knife will just slide out. And like all that imagery is so fucked up. Like just having Shion do all this while Satoko like goes from screaming her lungs out and screaming in pain while she gets called pathetic, and how like it's all like her fault that Satoshi's gone, and because she was so weak, like Satoshi had to go. And that this is where she realizes like, oh, I have to be strong so that my brother will come rescue me. And then as she's losing her blood, she starts to hallucinate that her brother is holding her, and that, you know, she passes happily as in her brother's arms, metaphorically. And that's when Shion is like, fuck, why did she get to die happy? Why does she get to see him again and I can't? And then when she throws her body in the well, I believe it's here where she asks if Satoshi is in there, and he says, yes, I'm here. And then Shion's like, well, I need to join you. I'm gonna jump down this well. And he's like, you can't do that. You have to live. You have to be strong. You have to stay alive. And she's like, okay. And this is when she starts to like imagine Satoshi's everywhere.
Yeah, she's full on. She was already delusional, but she's like just completely like gone. Like Shion doesn't exist anymore. It's just whatever is left inside this person's body.
Yeah. Well, actually, I believe at this point, no, that doesn't happen yet. It happens later on. But yeah, like she just makes the tulpa for Satoshi at this point. Yeah. She just feels his presence, and she can feel what his answers to her questions, and she thinks that she can hear his every now and again, which is something. And meanwhile, of course, Mion is still apologizing this whole time.
Yeah, of course. And that's why it sucks, because then you remember Watanagashi, and when she was just repeating "I'm sorry" over and over again, and you were like, "What the hell's going on?" Like when Keiichi gets down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So the day after she deals with Satoko, Shion is confronted by Keiichi and Rena, which is, we're kind of getting into the ending of Watanagashi here, who informs Shion that the Sonozaki household is surrounded by police, prepared to take her in. As a final request, Shion asks for 30 minutes alone with Keiichi. Honoring her request, like an idiot, Keiichi follows Shion to the torture room, where he meets Mion. Shion then shocks him from behind, then straps him to the table to be tortured. So then they don't mention it, but it's the nail one.
Yeah.
Shion then has a change of heart and leaves Keiichi alone, instead of opting to release her sister and trick her into climbing down a nearby well. While Mion is climbing down the well, Shion shocks her, causing Mion to fall to her death. Shion then places herself in the cage Mion was in, and waits for the police to rescue her and Keiichi.
That fucking scene was incredible. But this also skipped over the search party. But yeah, so like after she kills Rika and Satoko, Keiichi, I believe, calls her, or calls the Sonozaki household, and is like, hey, I've got a feeling that like for some reason, you know, something happened to them. And she's like, what do you mean? Yeah, no, I don't know, I just can't put my finger on it. I'm pretty sure something happened to Rena and Satoko. So they're like, well, you should go check. They're like, they're in the shrine, like they live together, blah blah blah. So then he calls Rena. They get a search party going. They search until like 3 a.m. or something. which is longer than they search for Satoshi. And like there's even a scene where Shion is walking with like the search party, and they're like, oh man, this is like, how long did we take for that like Satoko kid or that Hojo kid when he went missing? Fucking like we went till like midnight or like 1 a.m. Shit like that. And it just pisses her off like even more. And then like the following day, that's when she meets with Keiichi and everything, and you know, she kind of tells him like, oh no, I'm fucking exhausted, I was doing the search party shit, dude. But there was also the scene with where Keiichi was trying to break into their home by seeing if like one of the windows was unlocked, and that's when you have like Shion, who is Mion, pretending to be Mion at this point, like holding the ladder and getting progressively more and more pissed off the more they talk about wanting to find Satoko.
Mm-hmm.
And she keeps going on about how she's like a cursed child and how she deserves everything that's coming to her. Crazy shit.
Yep. And,
crazy shit.
And Keiichi is convinced that she's like shaking the ladder, but it's like it's kind of left ambiguous where like if it was just his paranoia or if she was actually shaking it, you know?
Yeah, he says something like, hey, can you keep the ladder steady? And like that's like, you know, just implied as we go into like Shion's mind and see like what the fuck she's thinking of, and it's just like the ogre inside of her head like fucking angry.
I was kind of under the impression that she was just so mad she was shaking.
Yeah, me too.
She was thinking about Satoko.
Yeah, because that happens. I mean, when you get into an emotional state, like your hands will just jitter. But then yeah, the following day, like after Shion leaves, you know, during the middle of the day, they kind of like go to her home. They're like, hey, by the way, the cops have you surrounded. You should just turn yourself in. And she's like, well, can I talk to Keiichi real quick? And then in her mind, she's like, if he follows me, I will definitely kill him. If he doesn't figure out who the fuck I am, by the time we get into the sex dungeon, I'm definitely killing him.
And it sucks because Keiichi is Keiichi's not. It's not even that he's gullible. It's that he like believes, like he trusts in his friends. So he's like, oh, she just wants to talk, and I feel so bad for her. She's gonna have to go to jail soon, so we should talk to her now.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it. Like I would have gotten up and walked with her around the garden, but the second she's like, hey, do you want to go into this forest path with me? Yeah, and then down into a bunker, like opening a solid steel door that creaks and smells of like stagnant air. I don't know if I would have like gone in there. And she even said it, like, if he follows me, he's a fucking imbecile.
So the one thing that they kind of glossed over is that she didn't necessarily leave Keiichi alone. She just didn't torture him with the nails. She only the reason she was able to switch is because she stunned him. He was out cold while she switched with Mion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like she changes her mind. She says, well, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm gonna let you live. I'm not gonna torture you. I'm sorry, Keiichi. Next time you see me, don't approach me. It's not gonna be me. So then she shocks him, and then she goes to Mion and is like, Mion, get out. We're swapping places again. And she's like, okay. She's like, strip. And then they like change clothes. And she's like, okay, well, what now? Go down the well. You're gonna leave. You're gonna leave through the secret entrance. She's like, okay. And then as she's hanging from the well, like she grabs the stun gun, and you can hear the electricity clicking of the illegally modified stun gun. And then she starts to question Shion here, or Mion here. And she basically says something along the lines of like, you will now be joining Satoshi at the bottom of this well. She's like, what are you talking about? He's not down here. She's like, what do you mean? And then she goes into how the hag never orders anyone to kill people, and that she just takes credit for all these events happening to give the Sonosuke family more credit, so that people can rely on them, quote unquote, because it just means that they can, quote unquote, get stuff done through shady means or through any means necessary. And that's why Oryo was so feared, because people would just do stuff for her even though she never asked for anything, and she would just take credit for it. Like she just started taking credit for well, not really taking credit, but she started to indirectly warn people that they would probably be, demoned away or whatever if they misbehaved during the Watanagashi and so on. And also before this, she kind of like claimed her name back. So Shion the whole time was actually Mion. And it just so happens that at one point when they were kids, Shion, the Mion in Higurashi that we know, was like, I want to try Red Snapper or something. I've never tried Red Snapper. I really want to try it. Can we swap places? Because the actual heir was given preferential treatment to the other sister. So they swapped places, and after that day, Shion went to the amusement park, and Mion went to the amusement park, and Shion got like sent somewhere else. In this case, being our Shion, who's actually Mion. It's so confusing, like saying this shit. The true Mion, Shin Mion, was actually Shion the whole time, while Shion pretended to be Mion for a bunch of years. So Shion was the one that ended up getting the ogre tattoo and everything on her back, while the real Mion was forced to suffer the life of the second sister this whole life, which was like super heartbreaking for her.
Yeah. I've been using, since this point, I've been using older and younger, just to kind of keep track of them, because the one that we know as Shion is technically the older sister.
Right.
The older twin, yeah. But yeah, no, it's crazy. And the craziest part about this whole revelation is that, like, it still doesn't really matter. It makes some things make sense in the context of Watanaga Shihen and Meakashi Hen, but like for the most part, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it's just a cool little reveal.
Yeah, and I love that there's so many twists that like help you fill in the blanks, but like ultimately in the grand scheme of things, like we learned at the end of Meakashi, it's like everything the older sister, our Shion, did was for nothing, because like the Sonozakis really don't do anything that evil, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
They're kind of like a Kiryu type, you know, where yeah, he's Yakuza, but he's not evil. He's just kind of there to help people.
Exactly. Well, you have all the other like sects of the Sonosaki family, like doing all the crazy shit. The branch in Hinamizawa, they just go to the arcades and they play, you know, like Phantasy Star, or like I don't know, they play fucking anything else. A Fantasy Zone, yeah. I meant. Or what's the name of the bike game?
Super Hang On.
Super Hang On, yeah. Like that's all they end up doing. They just hang out at the arcades and play, and watch over like it's a 5-year-old.
Oh.
But yeah, she ends up getting in the cage, and she ends up pretending to be Shion again. And then like that's when the banging on the door of the main like chamber gets like burst open, and then she gets rescued along with Keiichi.
Which at this point she returns to her apartment in Okinomiya to like kind of lie low. Yeah. But she starts to feel a presence similar to before, however much more severe.
Yeah.
Believing the presence to be Mion's vengeful spirit, Shion decides to spite her dead sister and returns to Hinamizawa to visit the Maibara mansion to see Keiichi one last time. When Keiichi greets her, and we know what happens in Watanagashi, Shion pulls out a knife and stabs him in the stomach before running off laughing. While attempting to sneak back into her room, Shion slips and falls to her death.
Yeah. And if you remember, at the end of Watanagashi, because Keiichi survives this, Keiichi ends up in the hospital. He meets up with Oishi, and then Oishi starts going into how, like, after, how before, like, he asks her, like, did you really see the Sorosaki sister? Was it really one of them? And he's like, yeah, it was definitely Mion who stabbed me. And he's like, that's weird, because at the same time, like, around the time that you got stabbed, Mion, or Shion, was heard arguing with her sister in her own room. So it was impossible for her to get to your house and also back to her apartment in such a short amount of time. And then, you know, for them to have this argument. Like, it makes no sense. How could that happen? And then we know...
she kind of did anyway. She kind of did anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, she was on a bike. I don't think they knew of the grandma's bike, or motorcycle, I should say. And like that's just what we know from Watanagashi. But when you finally play Meakashi, that's when you see that scene play out, and it's just Mion and it's Shion arguing with the ghost of Mion, quote unquote, as she's thrashing the room. The weird part is like when they describe the scene of the crime, or the scene of the room after like the events happen, they describe how it really felt like there was an altercation between two people in there. And then that's when oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, you know, it's just a closed room, so you really don't know what happened.
Yeah. It's like, who really died that day? Because it's yeah, like truly, who really died that day? Because you're told, like, when that shit gets revealed to Keiichi in Watanagashi, he's like, no way. So did Mion kill Shion? Did she push her off the balcony? And she's like, well, that's the weird part, because we found Mion's body in the secret well that was underneath like the sex dungeon, and it had been dead before, like for weeks before, like, you know, Shion fell from her balcony. So who really killed who that day? And it's like, huh, really gets the old noggin jogging. But when we play through it in Meakashi, we just know that Shion, or that Mion, is having a schizo episode.
Yeah.
So that was the final recap paragraph, and we can kind of get into, because there's still some big questions lingering, get into your main theory thoughts.
Yeah, one sec. Let me try to find one part real quick from that finale. Real quick. Give me a sec. Because if I recall, Keiichi dies in this, but is also not dead. If I'm not misremembering, because there's like there's this credit scenes at the very end where they're rolling the credits, and they're like, oh, by the way, Keiichi died, but also he didn't die.
I think it says he died from a stroke.
He died from acute heart failure on July 3rd, 1983.
Yeah, like in 1983. Wow. So that's the thing. So it's like he was in the hospital, but then he also, yeah, like had a heart attack. Of all fucking things.
Yeah, it's not like in Watanagashi where he was stable for a while. Or no, I'm thinking of Tatari Goroshi, where he was in the hospital for a while and then got interviewed. No, he immediately died.
So it's like, Keiichi Maebara stabbed by Shion Sonozuki on June 30th, 1983. Victim was severely injured but is recuperating in the hospital. That was June 30th. And then right afterwards, he died in the hospital in Tokyo in 1983. Cause of death is acute heart failure. So,
yep.
Because from what we know in Watanagashi, like, Keiichi gets visited by Oishi, and I assume that happens like after he's been in the hospital for a few weeks. And then that's when he sees like the spirit, or like the corpse of Mion pop out from under the front of his bed, slowly trying to grasp at him. And I guess this was all just one big metaphorical, hey, Keiichi's about to have like heart failure. He's about to die in some other way, but this is how he's seeing it. How he could never, you know, make it up to Mion. So here she is, like, coming to punish him, which was really weird.
Because it's glossed over, but in both arcs, Shion pretending to be Mion kind of says, "Hey, this is your fault.
Yeah.
This happens because you didn't give me the plushie, or the doll.
The doll. Yeah. And let's see. And then immediately after credits, we get this scene where it's lunchtime in Hinamizawa, and everyone's there. Mion, Shion, Satoko, Rika, Rena, and Keiichi. And they're all having just lunch together. And it ends, with Shion kind of realizing, you know what? I really didn't do what I was supposed to do. Because she has this revelation, like, near the end, as she's after she falls from the balcony, and she's dying. She's like bleeding out. She falls from like the third story. She cracks her head open on like the corner of one of the like balconies below, and then she's bleeding out on the floor, like, spread eagle, and she starts thinking like, oh yeah, Satoshi told me, he asked me to make a promise and I couldn't keep it. What was that promise again? And then it was, I want you to protect Satoko. And, it's kind of implied that, this little dream that she's having, or this little scene, is what's happening as she's bleeding out, which is just her enjoying, lunch with everyone, and, being like a big sister to Satoko. Like, hey, you need to try these vegetables. You'll like cabbage, or not cabbage, pumpkin or whatever. It's like, it's really good. And then it cuts to this, like, really nice, like, CG of Shion with Satoko. Like around, with her arm around Satoko, which is really cute.
That CG was so cute.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, so that is I think that's the bulk of the main story covered.
Yeah.
At least all like the super critical events. Go ahead.
We do get 2 final tips as well, which one is involving a happy diary, or it involves the diary. And I believe it was Oishi. I think he's this. I don't know if I don't remember if they say who he's talking to. I believe it was. I think my guess was it wasn't Kuma, but it was Asakusa later on, and it was just they go into how because throughout the game or throughout the chapter you're given various diary entries, and it's just about Shion's like mental state and like what she's thinking of at the time and what's going on. And when these guys go into like what's in the diary, they're like, dude, whoever fucking wrote this is insane. Like you can see how fucked up like they were mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is the disowned one, which goes into how one of the sisters, I believe it's supposed to be Shion, talking to her mother, unless it was Mion. She talks to her mother, and they basically have this little interaction where back in the day, it turns out that, Mion's mother really loved her husband. She really wanted to date her husband back when they weren't dating. So she had to convince her grandma, like, hey, I really want to fucking date this guy. She's like, well, you're gonna have to pay for it. So she had to, she had to also take a nail punishment by ripping them out in order to, pay for that shit. And then it's kind of implied that her grandma also had to do that back when she was younger. So, because she also wanted to fall in love. I'm sorry, go ahead, Aru.
Oh, just saying, it's kind of like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. It was a very, very interesting scene, as a lot of these are.
And with Shion being the true
heir.
Inheritor, the true heir. It's kind of interesting there. Mion, it's not mentioned in the recap, but Mion does it herself.
Oh,
she
yes.
didn't want Shion to feel alone.
Yeah, she had to do it as well. There was a lot of things that the recap did also, of course, just not include, which is why we're here, right? To also mention that, like how at one point when she was ripping her nails out, they're like, yeah, but did you rip one out for yourself as well? Like, we forgave your uncle, we forgave Satoshi, we forgave Kasai, but we never forgave you because you didn't rip out a 4th one. You only did 3. And she's like, was this the whole reason why you're all torturing me? And so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's the other way around where like they.
Oh yeah,
she wonders why Satoshi hasn't come back, and she's like, well,
you're right.
Because you didn't forgive him. You just forgave you, Kasai, and Yoshiro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're responsible for yourself.
You forgot the 4th one. She's like, fuck. Yeah. Oh boy. So this was definitely quite the chapter. It was very, very, very good. It was such an incredible chapter.
So given that you learn that the Sonozakis aren't really behind anything, do you feel like you haven't progressed like in learning anything, or do you feel like you learned some new information for your useful information for your theories?
Well, I was left with more questions than answers, considering this is supposed to be the quote unquote answers arc.
Yeah.
Because holy fuck, dude, like who really died that day? Like, I still don't fucking know, because I don't know what route we're taking. because like we know Oishi and Asakusa wrote Higurashi when they cry because of the Great Hinamizawa disaster that happens in chapter 3. But here we're seeing the events of chapter 2 take place, and Keiichi dies like a week later in the hospital instead of years later from like going insane or some shit. So what the fuck is going on? Was he really like did he really die in the hospital from Shion? Was it all just like an actual metaphor of like him, having a heart attack and not realizing it, and he just sees like, Mion coming for him because, he didn't get closure, all that shit. We did get more info, of course, on what the Onikakashi events are and who is performing the deaths during the Watanagashi festival. And even though the Sonozaki family is not directly involved, they are still the ones that take credit for it. So, like, is the Sonozaki family behind those murders? I would say yes and no. I would say they're the frontmen for it, but as for who actually does it, if we go by what they mentioned in the chapter, it's other individuals who do not want to piss off the grandma. They don't want to piss off Oreo, so they kind of just heed her messages or whatever she says, and they just go after whomever they see fit. There's a system throughout Hinamizawa where, at least from what I recall, it was mentioned something along the lines was mentioned of how see no evil, like speak no evil. So it's like you don't see who the fuck killed, so you don't say who did it. So no one knows who's doing it, but people know that someone needs to be taken out, and whomever is in the best position to do it will do it. Whomever in the village, whomever is related to any of these people in power of the of the council. I'm sure maybe they talk to their family about it. They're like, yeah, no, that Keiichi kid is fucking next in the chopping block. Same with the Sonozaki sister. Stuff like that. And then, like, that kind of goes through the Hinamizawa underside, or the underworld, and all that word spreads, and then whoever has, like, the best shot, like, just goes for him. Or for whomever they need to take out. So at least that's still the theory that I'm sticking to for now. Considering Rika is still omnipotent, I still kinda can't rule out the fact that maybe the curse is still real. Like, it's still like a real thing, and someone still gets possessed to some extent. Just because of the omnipotence that she has.
Okay. So my follow-up to the idea of like someone doing the murder and then Oreo just kind of taking credit for it. We've seen the way that Shion acted, and even for something as minor as just like skipping school, she had to like basically apologize for like the person who gave her a job, the person who gave her an apartment, and apologize for herself ultimately for skipping school. Yeah. In kind of a very dramatic way. Do you think, with that in mind, do you think Oreo would still allow people to do things like murder without really chastising them for it? If it was for the sake of like gaining clout, essentially. Because it's entirely possible. You're right.
My answer would probably be yes. But the reason why it would be yes is because she wouldn't know who to blame, or who would need to, take responsibility for this. If someone were to come up to like Oreo and be like, "Oh, by the way, it's been done. I did it," she would probably be like, "All right, pay with your pinky real quick." And then be like, "Whoa, what the fuck, bro?" And it's like, you still committed murder. Like, lose a pinky.
And so we kind of touched on this before as well, but so with regards to the footsteps, we kind of know who has heard them, and because Satoshi has heard them, we can kind of rule out that it was Satoshi, right? That these footsteps, unless you subscribe to the theory that it's like a personal like guardian, which in that case it could have been like someone else for Satoshi, but it still could be Satoshi for Mion.
Well, that's the other thing, where I believe it was when Shion, or actually like the real Mion, was killing Satoko, she feels the footsteps or the presence behind her, and then she realizes, oh, it wasn't Satoshi this whole time. It was actually myself. It was the ogre that I have within me looking at me. Something along those lines. I can't remember exactly because it's... Jeez, I'm trying to remember. But it was something along those lines. It was either it looking at her with disgust or it wanting to watch her, like, kind of spiral and become this creature thing. Like this other person. So, in this case, I feel it's not necessarily a person that's following her. It's more like her guilt, you know? Just like a metaphor in this case. Like a metaphorical footsteps that she's just like hallucinating. I mean, if she can talk to Satoshi from the dead somehow, she's definitely just hallucinating everything at this point. Because Shion, just like Keiichi, becomes a very unreliable narrator. But that's because both of them start to spiral. It's just Shion's spiraling goes on for a lot longer, for a whole fucking year. Well, Keiichi experiences a bunch of it in like 1 week, as far as we know. Because both of them start going through the same symptoms, except Shion went through them for a whole year, which is just not getting enough sleep, just having nightmares, and then hearing footsteps. So Keiichi only heard the shit for a week, and he went crazy and ended up getting killed and starting like a volcanic eruption. Shion had to go through that for a whole year. With her little, with her little tulpa by her side.
So, this also reminds me, speaking of delusions, in some of your streams, and I didn't catch the ending, so I don't know if this had changed by the time you were done reading. In some of your streams, you were considering the idea that the diary tips could be from different people.
Yes.
Do you have an idea of like who the diary entries would be from?
I thought at first that maybe some of them were like, because if you look at the game itself, whenever you're given a tip, you're like most of the diary entries were just a book of a specific color with a different background, and then some of them shared that color for the book and for the background. Some shared the color for the book but had a different background. So for example, you might have like a red book with a green background. And then you might have like 3 entries that are a red book with a green background. But then you have another one that's still a red book, but it's like a dark green background. Or it'll be a purple background. Stuff like that. So I assumed that either some of those were either Shion herself talking, or jotting her, her events, or the events of like what transpired onto the book, or it was like Oishi or Asakusa trying to analyze the events of the book, of the journal that she left. Those were my thoughts. It was probably just them reading them out loud, or just them depicting the like what was inside of the journal at that moment. So that was my initial theory. But I think at some point I kind of was like, no, these are probably all just Shion's. I'm pretty sure these are all just Shion's, except for like that last one where it's just Oishi being like, yeah, whoever wrote this fucking book's insane.
Okay. So at this point, you believe all the diary entries are basically just Shion's notes?
Still, yes. I want to say for the most part, yes. Until something else comes along and proves me wrong.
Okay.
But for the most part, yes, I'm leaning to that theory.
So I'm trying to think of other big mysteries that happened. Do you have any other like major theories that stood out to you that were either like changed or updated?
In general, no, because this did answer like what happened to Satoshi for the most part. At least like we learned about Satoshi, we learned who he was. What did piss me off is that we never saw the bat swinging scene. Because Rena mentions like to Keiichi, like in chapter 1, why are you acting like this? One day Satoshi just started showing up and he started swinging his baseball bat. He started saying that it was for practice, like for baseball practice. Why are you doing this? So that was kind of like her hint of like, oh, by the way, Keiichi's probably hearing Oyashiro-sama's like footsteps. So yeah, we got some more info on what happened to Satoshi. We got some info on what happened to Oryo and then Rika and Rena, because they went missing. Obviously, we got to find out that Mion was Shion the whole time, or Shion was Mion the whole time. They didn't elaborate too. I mean, they gave you another perspective for Oyashiro-sama's curse of it being like, you know, people actually doing it. It's like Santa Claus. But I still think that might just be a red herring. I think that's a possibility, and you will need like more info from chapters like 7 or 8 or 6 or 7 to kind of get a better idea, and you'll kind of like maybe see that some parts of what they said was true, but not everything. Because that seems to be the case with this, with this series, where they give you a bunch of red herrings like that. Other than that, we still don't know who the footsteps belong to, or the jumping child. We still don't know who the jumping child is inside of the storage room. And I'm still really fucking curious about that. Unless there's been like a big hint that I fucking missed.
I don't think there would have been at this point. I mean, there's obviously like as I'm going, I'm not fully rereading every chapter, but I'm like skimming through to kind of get an idea of like, so I don't, you know, misspeak and like give you something from Sumi Horoboshi or something. But yeah, no, I think by this point unless you had a general grasp of like the exact mystery. The hints that you're given towards this kind of stuff is like it's like kind of circular logic where like you would only know because you know.
Right.
So
same with you.
Yeah, I would. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I would say I would say you don't have enough to work on to kind of figure that out for yourself at this point.
Yeah. Well, unless
you're
like a super genius.
You are in the answer arcs though, so those things will be coming eventually.
Right. I hope. Again, I still don't know how the answers arc is gonna work. I assumed. I mean, well, chapter 6 or 5 answered what happened in chapter 2. I'm assuming chapter 6 is either gonna answer what happens in chapter 1 or 3. I'm pretty sure they're gonna do 1 to kind of like cock tease you, so that chapter 7 answers what happens in chapter 3 specifically. And then I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen after that because there's still like 2 chapters left.
Yeah. I'm excited because you genuinely don't know, like you don't have an idea of like what could be happening.
No, are we getting to the Shin answers arc? Like the real fucking answers arc?
All I will say is that I'm very excited for you to start Sumi Horoboshi this coming week.
It's starting tomorrow. It's happening tomorrow. Yeah, I'm streaming it tomorrow. Because like I've mentioned it throughout the week and past week, but I did swap out my streaming schedules. I mean, this won't matter to people watching this on YouTube, but if you are watching this live, I do not stream on Fridays anymore for now. I'm gonna be trying to do Saturdays and Sundays instead of Friday and Saturday. And that seems to be so far been working out pretty well. But yeah, we'll definitely be starting Sumi Horoboshi tomorrow.
Excellent.
I had to fucking look at the fucking title. I was like, what was it called? But yeah, we're definitely starting that tomorrow. We'll probably do 2 chapters. We'll see. But it's quite something. But yeah, I don't think there's any more. I can't think of any other mysteries they might have added. I mean, the Takano stuff and Tomitaka stuff, like that's still the same shit. Like she still dies in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't give us much info on that.
Okay, let me bring one up for you.
Yeah, what did NIGPT say?
In a couple arcs already, we have seen the Great Hinamizawa disaster. In
2 of them.
Watanaga Shihen and Meakashi Shihen, we've seen a little bit after the events that happened.
Did it happen in Watanaga?
And Keiichi's in the hospital. Shion is in her apartment in Okinomiya.
Yeah.
Does it happen?
Yeah, that's the other, like, that's what I don't fucking know. That's why I still am not sure, like who really died that day. Because, like, assuming what happened in chapter 6, or sorry, in chapter 5 is canon, then Keiichi never kills Satoko's uncle. He never gets pushed off the bridge. And then, Satoko isn't alive while Rika is dead. Rika's body, it doesn't get thrown into the well. Instead, it's out displayed in the fucking shrine grounds, killed by someone. Meanwhile, Satoko is by the bridge with Keiichi, and she's alive because by that point, which was on Satoko's birthday, both of them were already dead by that point, and they were in the well, and they were killed by Shion. They weren't killed by the Great Hinamizawa disaster. So it's like, is that real? Is anything real? Is this all just one huge metaphor? Considering that Oishi mentions that the Great Hinamizawa disaster happened to Asakusa, and they're publishing the book based on those events, I'm assuming that's real. I'm assuming that for sure happens, and then maybe this whole thing was all one fever dream. I don't fucking know. For all I know, the events of chapter 5 and 2 are just a nice little what if. Like, what if Keiichi got a girlfriend? And what if she turned out to be a psycho bitch?
I think that honestly just about covers everything. The only other thing that's kind of relevant to Meakashi Hen that I can't really recommend until you finish, just because of the way it was released, is I've been using the term cast review when we've been talking about every arc so far, because the Ryukishi dev room at the end of Meakashi is kind of like a surprise, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to spoil that surprise, but there was actually a cast review that was planned and written for Meakashi, but it never got released, and until Higurashi Rei came out, and
we get to read it live right now. All of us, we get to pick a character, and no, I'm kidding.
But it's called Batsukoishi. So it's pretty interesting. It's a lot hornier than the other cast reviews.
It's a lot what?
Hornier.
Okay.
It's more horny.
Yes.
It's really funny. In the Steam description, it says this is for true degenerates.
Yes. Yeah.
Or something akin to that.
Yep.
I mean, like the fucking the chapter 4 cast review or whatever, when it was before Keiichi got like a sprite, and it was just implied that he was gonna sexually assault all the female cast members, and then they turn on the lights, and then now he doesn't have any powers. It's so it's like, how much worse can it get?
They turn off the lights so they can reference CL from Tsukihime.
Yeah.
Yep. With her black keys.
And the Seventh Holy Scripture, yeah.
Yeah. She gets, by the way, another part of Rei, just to kind of get off topic a little bit, is Higurashi, and Higurashi is a VN adaptation of the story mode from Higurashi Daybreak, and Daybreak is a third person. It's like an arena fighter. It's 2v2. It's very similar to Gundam Maxi Boost, if you've ever played that, Razor.
To which game?
But Gundam Maxi Boost.
Oh, I have not.
It's like a 2v2 versus Gundam game, but it's very similar to that in like gameplay. And Chie is one of the playable characters, and one of her unlockable costumes is CL's nun outfit.
I mean, she's already there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty cool, and I think that, like, even being so far removed from Meakashi, by the time you get to Rei, reading Batsukoishi will be a fun trip down memory lane, I think.
I remember when I used to think all of this stuff was still happening. How naive of me. Remember when I thought the Great Hinamizawa disaster was canon? I'm a fucking idiot. It was actually the Great Black Hole mystery that hasn't been resolved yet.
Jesus Christ.
I have no idea like who stars in the next one, because again the cast review was just Ryukishi kind of doing his little dev commentary. So I have no idea who stars in the next one. I did install the next game already, and the icon is Keiichi, but I doubt we're going to be playing as him again. My guess is that we're going to play as Rena, or we're going to see things through Rena's perspective for Chapter 6. And then maybe Chapter 7 would be like Satoko or Rika, maybe, I don't know.
So let's assume that it is Rena. What kind of and we can actually do this for all the characters, but like if the game does play from Rena's perspective, what kind of things would you like to see that you feel like haven't been answered yet, that Rena's perspective possibly could answer for you?
If they were to cover Rena's scenario, let's say, we would definitely be shown more about what happened when she was younger, when she wasn't in Hinamizawa. We would get a very like detailed description of how she bashed her classmates' skulls in with a baseball bat. We would definitely have a very detailed discussion or like recap of what happened in the psychological evaluation when she met with the psych doctor in the hospital, and how she goes into Oyashiro-sama's curse. What happens after that, and then maybe what Rena was doing that led to the events of her restraining Keiichi in Chapter 1, and all the like weird shit she was doing. Because if you remember in Chapter 1, Keiichi would be walking home near the end of the like game, and he could hear a second pair of footsteps, and he turns around and it's like Rena's there, and she's like matching her footsteps to his, like just barely. And if anything, they do a kind of like an homage or a callback to that scene in Meakashi, because if I recall, Keiichi would walk, like he stops after he realizes he's being followed. He starts walking, he kind of realizes, okay, someone's following me, and then he kind of like stops and starts walking, and then like that kind of fucks up the rhythm of the person that's tailing him, and he realizes someone's there. He turns around, and then I believe that's when he sees that it's Rena. If not, he hides, or he starts running, he hides, and then he sees Rena like looking around for him. In Meakashi, when Rika comes for the soy sauce bottle, she's walking down the hallway with Shion, and she's matching her footsteps specifically. And when Shion like kind of quote unquote calls her out on it, she just like giggles. She's like, haha, it's a funny game, right? Meanwhile, Shion knows exactly what this bitch is like trying to do. She's like, this chick is like up to something. So if we were to get like a Rena perspective, it'd be something along those lines, more than like whatever happened in Onikakushi from Rena's perspective. Because I don't believe she played a major role in Watanagashi or Tatarigoroshi. Just her being like a background character and the quote-unquote voice of reason when Keiichi's like, well, why doesn't Mion take care of Satoko?
Are there any other I was going to ask, are there any other time periods that you'd be interested in? So we've seen a lot of 1983, we've seen a little of 1982, and of course we've seen a lot of a little of 1979, where Akasaka shows up for the first time. Are there any other years that you want to learn more about?
Well, I mean, whatever, like, because when Keiichi and Rena go to meet up with Mion, and they're like, hey, by the way, your house is surrounded, the cops are on their way, blah blah blah. She starts telling them a story about like the history of like Hinamizawa, and how like they all used to like do these rituals and eat people and stuff like that. Through the Watanagashi chapter, we just get like all the story thrown upon us, and then through the Meakashi chapter, Shion's like, I can't believe they're buying a bunch of the shit that I just made up on the spot. So I would like to see those events that weren't fake, and I would like to see like what happened. Like, if I recall, she didn't deny the canned people being a thing. I'm pretty sure that was real. Like, that's canon. If it is canon, I would like to see like what happened during that era for the Sonozuki clan or whomever was actually in charge of doing all this. But other than that, I mean, there's not really like much I would like to see from the past. Maybe just Rena's perspective of like when she was younger and when she was, you know, having her emotional breakdowns and shit. Because otherwise, like, I don't think there would be much that would be too interesting to know about. I mean, if we look at Rika, it would just be her like getting up, going to school, going to the fucking meetings, and then like doing shrine maiden stuff, and then her just having like, you know, seizures as she has like premonitions of her death. Satoko would just be her getting assaulted and like beaten by her aunt and uncle, and like that's about it. Yeah, I can't really think of much. Okay, or well, maybe Keiichi's past a little bit more, like maybe when he was in the city, just for funsies. Like that's about it. Like just to have a little mini chapter of what he was like in school. But I mean, even when Keiichi describes it, he's like, it was pretty boring. I was just another student that would get up, go to school, go to cram school, go home.
Okay. Yeah, so there's still some interesting points there. I'm looking forward to. You're starting tomorrow, right? Do you know what time you're starting?
Yeah, 11:30 Central.
11:30 Central. Okay. I will be there because I am. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh boy, it kicks off just like that. Holy fuck.
It kicks off in a very cool way.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
I kind
Is
of
it
think
Rika like
it's,
exorcising people? It's just her fighting spirits. It's her with a
she-
camera obscura in her own little, you know, in her shrine. She's taking pictures of ghosts.
She grabs a gun and just kills everyone. It's like 360 no scope.
She's like, oh no, that dream again.
Dang it. Misclick.
This is also a little sad because Meakashi's the first arc where we don't have a mini game, which means that the ending of Strolling Rika-chan was kind of like the ending of that arc as a whole.
Yeah, there's not any more, right?
No.
That's it.
Well, and it sucks too because Meakashi was interesting because it was originally supposed to be the fourth
Chapter 4.
chapter.
Yeah.
And it kind of ballooned in scope, and there were a lot of things that like with the cast review that they just couldn't include because they either didn't have time or they felt like something else would be more appropriate. And the thing that really makes me sad about it is that BT, the developer and Ryukishi's best friend, had actually developed a Puyo Puyo minigame, like a Puyo Puyo clone.
Oh, that would have been so cool.
And it was almost ready, and it just never went out, and no copies of Meakashi are known to have it. So it's just kind of like a rumor. Yeah.
Dude, I fucking
And then
love
after-
Puyo Puyo.
At that point, when they when they didn't do a minigame for Meakashi, it was just kind of like, yeah, no, I guess we're not doing this anymore.
That's so fucking lame.
Yeah.
That's so fucking lame. Imagine for the 20th anniversary of Meakashi, which is this year. It's in 2 months.
We
He
get the
finally
Puyo
releases
Puyo.
the unreleased Puyo Puyo minigame.
Unfortunately, I don't think it can be finished.
It's okay, let the fans
'Cause,
do.
well, yeah, I guess. I was gonna say BT passed away during the middle of production of Umineko,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
unfortunate. But yeah, I mean that's in terms of like side content. You're basically done until the release of Rei, which Rei is gonna be. It's 3 main arcs. It's like the honorary Chapter 9, which is Saikoroshi, which is like an epilogue to the whole story. And then the 2 we already talked about, which is the Daybreak adaptation and the cast review for Meakashi.
Oh boy. Yeah, no, like any time like I finish a chapter or I'm like almost done with a chapter, I'm like, how much more do I have left of this? And then I go back to like the pinned post that we have in our chat, and it's just like, holy fuck, dude. Like there is so much. There is still so fucking much. Like once again, it's like we do have like Onikakashi, the mini games, and then like the staff room. Then Watanagashi, the mini games, the staff room. Tatarigoroshi, mini game, staff room. Himatsubushi, then there's the optional tips, and then there's the mini game as well for Strolling Rika-chan, and then the secret debug message. Then we have the secret staff room. Then we have Meakashi, story, cast review, and then the secret staff room. And then we have Tsumi Horoboshi, which main story, cast review, and then the secret staff room, and then that it just keeps going. And then Minagoroshi, Matsuri Bayashi, and then Daybreak, and then When They Cry at A, When They Cry Whole, then the console arcs, and then that's just like it just keeps going. And then there's still more. Then there's Umineko after Kurarashi Hen, and then we have all of Umineko, all the questions arcs, and then like the answers arcs, and then and then there's the optional stuff, and then there's more Umineko When They Cry, and then more Umineko no Naku Koro ni Tsubasa, and then that's just like if these are all chapters, it's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's like 15 of them. And
they're all much shorter.
And I'm not even halfway through. Like the list still keeps going, so it's like like I'm not finishing this game or this series this decade probably.
By the way, something really funny to me a while back that When They Cry is a yearly franchise.
Yeah.
Kind of like Call of Duty or well, not Pokemon anymore, but can you imagine that?
The difference is that the annual stuff that comes out for When They Cry is actually, like, generally speaking, worth it. Yeah, worth reading.
Are you sure? I don't know. It seems like they kind of rehash a lot of shit. Like it takes place in the in the same location. It's like the same characters. You think we get new characters with each chapter? You know, we only get like 1 or 2.
I'm actually really excited for both of you guys to start Umineko eventually, because I'm gonna be careful with my word selection here. It opens in a way that makes you feel comfortable after having, solved and finished Higurashi. And you're like, oh, he's doing this again. This shit's easy. And then like halfway into the first chapter, you're like, never mind.
I assumed it was gonna be exactly that as well. I assume it's just gonna be like just character development. You get to meet all the characters and all that shit, and then whatever mystery comes in like happens or something.
So
I think after I finish Higurashi, I want to take a break for a while, but I definitely want to be at least a chapter or 2 into Umineko before summer 2026.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna keep going. Like at this point, that's like I'm all in. I really want to get to the Hinamizawa bus stop. I don't know why.
Yeah, me too. I haven't gotten there yet, but yeah.
I don't know why, but I really want to get to it. Like I really like. I've only seen the design for Rika and for Shimion in that game, where that little what is it? It was a mini game. Is it just a short arc?
So it is. We've talked about this a little bit, but Higurashi was originally a stage play script called Hinamizawa Bus Stop.
Yeah.
And this is essentially that stage play modified slightly so it fits better into a visual novel format.
That's what it was.
But the character designs that you've seen, I'm assuming that they actually look like characters and not like placeholders.
Yeah, the ones I've seen is like, Shion like as a 16, 17-year-old,
That is actually an updated version of the script that came out for the console version of Ho. Yeah. That features new art by the Higurashi manga artist Tomato. So that's actually, you don't necessarily need to read both, but because of all of the updates, it's kind of cool. If you have read the original Hinamizawa Bus Stop first, and then go to that one, you're like, you can pick out all of the differences.
I mean, I'll think about how I'll handle it. Maybe I'll do a read through of the original and then do some more stuff and then go back to it again, like after like 2 or 3 chapters, and just look at the updated version.
Well, of course, because like the original Hinamizawa Bus Stop adaptation came out in like 2014, and then the Ho console update came out in like 2019. So you've got 5 years worth of stuff in between the first version.
Holy fuck! Oh god. The pace I'm going. Well, I mean, I'm making good time, if I'm honest. Considering like I got through the entire questions arc in like 5 months, which is, I mean, insane considering I only read it twice a week. So we're already done with. Holy shit! Actually, did it take me this fucking long to get through? Did it take me 4 months to get through this? No. What happened?
I was gonna say, wait. No matter how long each arc is taking you, you're definitely at least outpacing Ryukishi, because he was releasing them every 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like I said, if I wasn't streaming this, and if I was just playing this on my own, I would definitely have, like, just notebooks full of just info of all the little, like, I'd be taking notes. I would have little notes of, like, everything that's been going on, but since I'm not doing that, I'm just relying on my memory. Because, I mean, my memory for the most part is pretty good. Like, the fact that I'm still remembering very vivid, tiny details from Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 is kind of shocking me sometimes. But it's neat seeing the little callbacks every now and again. But yeah, I just really want to get to the Hinamizuwa bus stop as well. Yeah, I've seen the blue ones, the blue little outlines. Those are the ones that I've seen, and then the actual like kind of character designs as well. But yeah, the Mion having like his hair for some reason, like that's the like Hinamizuwa bus stop is Peon's debut. Like that's when Peon actually shows up.
But yeah, there's an hour's difference. There's an hour more worth of content in the remake version. Yeah. So yeah.
So I definitely do have to check both.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. The only one that I would advise that you actually skip through is if you do plan on playing. I don't know if you're sticking to just the PC arcs, but if you do plan on playing any of the console arcs,
no, I'll be doing those.
There's two versions of Meikashi Omote. There's the PS2 version and then the Omote version. The only real difference is the ending. So what I would recommend doing is you could read either one first and then just skip to the ending of the other one that you didn't read. Because it kind of changes there's one key thing that happens at the very end of Meikashi that kind of changes your perspective on how the ending plays out. So it's not worth it to read both because you're reading the exact same thing twice, shit, more or less. Yeah.
But in the case for the console arcs, all I'm really going to be checking out there is just like the deaths or the bad ends or whatever.
Yeah, so initially... Same, right? So Tadai Mawashi so it's weird. So the way bad ends are handled is there are minor bad ends in the console version that, like, I think Meakashi even has one, but they're like usually 8 minutes long or like 10 minutes long. They're like really short, but in a couple instances they are long enough that 7th expansion and Alchemist decided to give them their own arc name. So in the instance of Watanaga Shihen, its bad ending is called Tarai Mawashi. And then in the instance of Tatari Goroshi, its bad ending is called Suki Otoshi. And they are, I won't say that they're long because they're not like as long as an arc. No, yeah, they're just a couple hours each. Like, let me look up Tadai Mawashi real quick. Tadai Mawashi is, let's see. Of course, I don't have like nobody's uploaded a full thing. I'm looking for the playlist. But yeah, no, it was, I remember it being just like
I get to be hours.
The first. Well, no, I mean, like, so Lambda Delta has been really good about uploading the play, but the playlist wasn't showing up in the search. Yeah, no, so they're just a couple hours each, but they're just glorified bad ends.
Yeah, I assume there's like a shift in the timeline because he took this action, and then they just elaborate on how that spirals or whatever.
Yeah. But then after that is so the first real, like, truly new arc is the third one from the PS2 version, which is Meikashi. Meikashi serves as an alternate ending. So basically, you finish Chapter 7, and then either Matsuri Bayashi or Meikashi could happen to end and conclude the story.
No, that I didn't know.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Jesus fuck, that's so fucking annoying, dude. That's so fucking lame. Because it's like which ending really happened. Oh,
It's
boy.
well that's the nice thing is it's kind of up to player interpretation.
So I'm just wondering,
but
like,
yeah, so-
what the fuck did they throw at you for it to require a separate possible ending?
I'm not going to comment, but
I
it
know,
is.
But this is like, jeez.
So Tadai Mawashi is about 3 hours 48, and Tsukiotoshi is about 8 hours 13. So pretty significantly shorter than the average main chapter.
Yeah, for sure. That's like one stream.
Yeah. At least Tadai Mawashi could be. Tsukiotoshi could probably be a couple.
Tadai Mawashi for sure. That one's like a one stream. It's just 4 hours. Oh, God. Oh, my throat's gonna die after that. Oh, fuck. Well, I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
Now, I do have slightly bad news about Meotsukushi. Now, granted, you don't have to get to Meotsukushi right away, because it's technically... The way that I ordered everything is not only the dates in which they came out, but the order in which they unlock if multiple things were released at the same time. So in the case of Higurashi Matsuri, which is the PS2 version, you first unlock Tadai Mawashi, then you unlock Tsukiotoshi, and then you unlock Meotsukushi. So that would be around the point that you read Meotsukushi. However, it is... I don't want to say it out loud. I'm just going to drop this in the chat.
Okay, I stopped reading after the first like comma. It's like I'm just gonna keep it there.
Yeah, 22 hours, 22 minutes. Yep. Yeah.
And
the crazy part is...
Fuck, dude. How many? I like that just fucking hit me.
22 hours, yep.
Jesus,
now, I will say, this is the disclaimer I gave to Aru when we were trying to calculate playlist length, or playtime length, was Lambda Delta, the way that they have done their playthroughs is that they will start an arc, hit the autoplay button on the default speed, which is relatively slow given our rating speed.
Yeah.
And then just let it play out. So it does end up being usually significantly longer than the average person would read. But it's probably closer to what your playtime would look like, just because you're also stopping to like theorize on the spot or talk to chat or whatever. So
in general, it's usually around like I've usually been, I believe, like 2 or 4 hours below whatever the total sum estimate you provided for me for each of the. Like if I were to not theorize, I'm pretty sure it would be about 2 to 4 hours shorter than the final number.
And the crazy part about Meotsukushi is that, like, so you know how Watanagashi and Meakashi are kind of like parallels in that they're almost the same chapter. So you can't necessarily skip parts of it, but you're kind of just reading on autopilot because a lot of it is the same.
Actually, before I forget, because you brought that up. When the fuck do they date in Meakashi? When the fuck do they go on their fucking dates? That shit never happens.
Who?
Shion and Keiichi. They never go on their fucking dates. He never goes to the restaurant to Angel Ward and Caesar there. They never walk around town with her arm in his, or her arms wrapped around his. They never go into the toy store and confront Mion while being like, "Ooh, Keiichi's gonna buy me a gift." That shit never fucking happens, because by the time in Watanagashi, when that shit happens, in Meakashi, Mion's in the cage. So when the fuck does that shit happen? Like, that's still one of the biggest questions I have, which I just remembered.
I don't want to say that it doesn't get answered, but also, like, I feel like because this is from Shion's perspective, and we've already established that both Shion and Keiichi are unreliable narrators, yeah. I feel like a lot of
Keiichi
details
was imagining the whole thing. They never dated.
Not even that. So the way that I take it is, Shion was so obsessed with studying the curse, that those things probably happened, but she just didn't care to comment on them because she was just thinking about the curse the whole time.
Yeah, no, but like while I get that, the main thing that's still concerning me is that I know for sure, after the Watanaga, like right before the Watanagashi, if I recall, it was either right before or right after the Watanagashi is the scene with the toy store. And by that point in time, Mion is in a cage. I remember that specifically. So like these events are happening, and the order is throwing me like for a loop. So like, did it actually happen in Keiichi's end? Is this all like a parallel universe sort of thing? That's still some shit that's like throwing me off. Because it's fucking weird.
Well, I bring it up because there are obviously going to be differences. I feel like obviously. Yeah,
you're not going to read the same chapter twice.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not 1-to-1, and that's that is for a reason. Because again, just you need to see different perspectives. It wouldn't be. You could see the people's different perspectives, but like if it's the exact same events, you really couldn't glean too much new information from that.
Right.
I bring it up because when I say that Meakashi is an alternate ending, like it's basically an alternate chapter 8, I don't mean that it's similar. It's actually completely different events that happen. Like it's a totally different story from the ground up. So it is. I feel like it's at least worth checking out. It can get kind of dense and kind of long, but
no, it's fine.
Yeah, it's still. Yeah, I still feel like it's an interesting read for sure, especially because. And again, this is another moment where I'm having to pick my words carefully. I feel like isolated as an ending to Higurashi, I think I like Meakashi more than Matsuri Bayashi, and I'm not going to get into why, at least for a while, of course. But yeah, I think I'll let you chew
Don't
on
worry,
that.
I won't get into it for a good while either. What is this? It sounds like sex music. What the hell is this? Junkito BGM 4. Okay. Well, it's a PC 98 game.
But yeah, no, I feel like there's the thing that has stuck in my head is that somebody described Matsuri Bayashi a specific way, and I have not been able to get that mental image out of my head, so I will refrain from saying it until you read through Matsuri Bayashi, but it's
yeah, please do.
It's I'll get to tell it to Aru soon, so I'm excited about that. But
and then he's gonna say it without fucking knowing, by accident. It'll be like, oh man, can you believe that it's just like this?
No.
It's gonna be a slip of the tongue.
I tried so hard this entire call not to say anything. Period. Just to
you've got hidden knowledge.
I've got the lore.
Yeah, you know what happens next. I don't. I'm getting there. I'm getting there in less than 24 hours.
I believe I know 95% of what's going on.
I'm gonna aim for 96.
Billy, can you confirm or deny?
I can confirm that you know about 95% of what's going on.
I can confirm that you think you know you have 95% of the story.
No, I mean I've seen what he's read through, and I've heard his theories, and yeah, he's spot on.
Billy gets line messages daily when he really does get the play-by-play. So every time I'm reading, I will take a picture of my TV and just point at it.
Yeah, I was about to say that you just take a selfie pointing at the screen at the word. Can you believe Rena said this?
Right before chapter 7, I gave my overall thoughts, and this is what I think is going on. This blah blah blah, and Billy says, "I think your game with Ryukishi is about to get very interesting. I think you're really gonna like chapter 7."
That is such a William answer.
Knowing William, That
Use my
means
government name.
Your legal name.
that means you are right because Aru loves being right, so he's gonna love this chapter. And I was right about that. I sent a screenshot like a couple days back saying insane soul read.
It's funny because like there were still some things that you were a little wrong about.
Completely wrong about, yeah.
But they were the things that you were wrong about. I was excited because I feel like you would have been more hyped with the actual answer than what you had thought of.
Oh yeah.
God, I can imagine people who are like who've already seen this, if they're watching this later, who've already read like chapter 7, they're like, oh, I know what you're talking about. I know the soul read.
He knows the lore.
All I'm saying is the only mental preparation I'm gonna give you for the remaining answer arcs is that if there's like obviously there is a problem in Hinamizawa, right? So if 8 is the solution to that problem, and then I'm gonna stop talking.
Okay, so it all ends in 8s. Huh. In that case, then the next chapter is gonna elaborate on what happens in chapter 3. Or it might be half and half, where we get info on Onikakushi and then also on Tatari Goroshi. Because, let me actually think about it for a tiny bit. Well, this like funkalicious like technical music plays in the background.
I mean, we've got time. We normally go for 4 hours, but it's only been 2, and we've covered everything.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But like this is basically over. But I don't think I've given like a full update, I guess, to my main theory. So I do believe that Erika is for sure some sort of omnipotent being, some sort of esper. So she can for sure see her death and foresee like just what's going on in the future. Or things that involve her and her dying, as well as some of the other major events in Higurashi.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure by chapter 8, it's gonna be revealed who this secret faction is that's actually doing all the shadowy stuff within Hinamizawa. If it doesn't happen in chapter 8, it's gonna happen in chapter 7.
So wait, before we move on, I want to also comment. So you think that it is a third party of like people that is messing with Hinamizawa?
Not necessarily a third party, but like those that like whoever's actually doing it is gonna get revealed. By that I mean like those that do the things on behalf of the Sonozaki family.
But you still, yeah, you think it's Sonozaki? You think it's people working for the Sonozakis essentially that are doing these things?
Well, like I said, I'll bat for both teams. It could be either or.
Okay.
No,
like
you roll that way, huh?
It will either be someone is working for the Sonozaki. It's like those who are part of the village. Like it's villagers who are doing this. As for who exactly, like that, I don't fucking know yet. But that will definitely get revealed, and I'm pretty sure those individuals, or it could be, I don't know, for all I know, for all I fucking know, like this is like a stupid fucking theory shot in the dark, there's actually like a secret like 4th family that's like a rival to the main 3 families that has always been neglected, that no one fucking talks about, and those are the dudes that kind of like get involved with all the super secret shady shit, and they're the ones that trigger the volcanic eruption that actually leads to the Great Hinamizawa disaster being the canon ending. And it just so happens that there really literally is something in the Hinamizawa water that makes people like fucking weird. There is some shit in Hinamizawa that literally makes them all either hear shit or like, you know, see things, kind of like whenever they're super stressed out. Something along those lines. It could be the lack of oxygen up in the mountains. It could be that the Higurashi themselves are all like they don't even exist for all we know. Like the Higurashi are not even a thing, and everyone just assumes, or it's probably just all in Keiichi's mind, or in Keiichi and Shion's mind. Because I mean, no one else mentions the Higurashi. No one else fucking mentions the cicadas ever. It's just them two so far. I don't believe like whenever they've gone outside with like say Oishi or something, he's never said shit like, man, can you believe how loud the Higurashi are today? And fucking Billy's muting because I fucking know he's like, this motherfucker.
Sorry, no, a friend of mine messaged me an echo art meme, and I was responding.
Yeah, okay.
So this secret fourth family, it's the Pinamizawa family.
It's the Pinamizawa family, exactly.
Yeah,
that's where Pion comes from.
I can't believe you figured it out by chapter 5.
That would be like, again, like if I were to just like go super schizo mode, it's something along those lines. It still hasn't been confirmed nor denied whether or not supernatural things are a thing. So if supernatural things are a thing, then I still believe that Satoshi was definitely fucking kidnapped. He was definitely sacrificed underneath one of the other many torture chambers that exist, which was revealed in Meakashi. We know there's one underneath the shrine grounds. It's presumably there's one beneath the main Hojo family as well, like beneath their main home that Satoko left. For all we know, they have one there. For all we know, like one of the main things that also stood out to me was like that's if it's a supernatural side, then yeah, sure. Like Oyashiro-sama's real. Rika is definitely the reincarnation, and some people are bad actors acting on his behalf, performing just ritualistic murders, and it just so happens that it leads to the volcanic eruption and the great disaster of Hinamizawa. That's possible theory one. The second one is Mion's mom is the actual heir, or was the actual Sonozaki in that marriage, and she married a Yakuza. And that Yakuza is the one that ended up performing a lot of the, shady shit. Like, it's their connections, it's his connections that result in a lot of the shady shit happening all over. We also have Satoko's uncle, who is presumably also part of the Yakuza. So for all we know, their clan is doing shit to fuck with maybe the Sonozaki family clan. Not sure. But just the Yakuza is definitely involved, and it's definitely the Yakuza who are like, committing all these disappearances and murders and shit like that. It's just business. It's just like, imagine like Hinamizawa is like New York, but like in the mountains. Like that's basically like what's going on. So it's either one of those two. I'm currently in one of those two camps.
As New York, can you imagine all the characters with a New York accent?
They'll have pompadours and shit. Hey, how you doing, Mion? Hey, Keiichi! What are you doing? How you been?
I always thought that accent was kind of like a caricature. But then I visited New York once, and I was walking down the street, and this guy was talking really loud on his cell phone. And as he's passing me, he goes, "Yeah, nice and easy, buddy." Just okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not a caricature. Like I wasn't doing this shit for fun. That's how they talk in like Staten Island. Like this is normal. This is your typical Italian, accent. That's how they talk over there. It's in their blood. They eat gabagool and they say "mamma mia" every now and again.
I cook the pizza.
They do cook the pizza. You ever had New York pizza? Shit's good. Or so I've heard.
New York style.
Well, I'm not going to elaborate on why, but I've already mentioned it. I'm very excited for you to read Sumi Horoboshi.
It's gonna be like, dude, you are way off track. It was none of those. It was actually Satoshi who went missing, and he's the one that actually ended up joining the rival Yakuza gang, and he started doing all the disappearances.
It was Pion.
Yeah, Pion Pinamizawa.
Yeah. It's all happening. It's all happening in the little silent hill town that's like 5 minutes away from Hinamizawa, that all the people abandoned. Like that's where all the major like sacred like rituals happen. That's where they're all located. All the people that disappeared, all the people that like were onikakashi'd, they were all taken there. It was actually a resort, and then they're told, "Look, you gotta get out of here, man. Like we don't want you around. Like it's kind of bad. Here's $5,000. Go to like Yamagata or something in the north." Like that's
in the 80s. That's a lot of money.
That's what you get. That's it. Yeah, in 1982 or 83.
Yeah,
it's like
that's a lot of bread.
that's a lot of cash. It's like, hey, just get out of here. Hey, get out of here. We don't want to see you. We run that down.
Higurashi is actually a prequel to Silent Hill F, also known as Silent Hill Furude.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
I loved in the secret dev room, the secret staff room, when Ryukishi mentions not having excuse me, I got a cough. Not having enough time to finish the script because he's playing Silent Hill, and it's like we've come full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're writing the script for Silent Hill.
It's crazy.
Just imagine how different of a game this would have been if he would have been playing like Kingsfield.
Oh yeah.
Or Shadow Tower.
Oh god, Shadow Tower would have broken him. He does mention at one point, I can't remember if it's in one you've already read or not, but he mentions reading Comic Party and crying at Amy's route. And
no, I don't remember this.
At first, okay, yeah, he probably mentions it in a later one, but yeah, he's like, I read Comic Party this since the last comic yet, and damn, Amy's route really made me cry. It's like torture. And at first I was like, Comic Party is like a comedy, like a rom-com visual novel. So I'm like, I wonder what could have happened. And it turns out that Amy is a struggling Dojin Soft creator. So it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense now.
She works for a company called Triangle. That's just
so I kind of. But that got me more interested in Comic Party, so I kind of want to read it now. I kind of like I'm into like I've been trying to go through not every single thing that Ryukishi has mentioned as like a source of inspiration, but like a good chunk of it that's at least available in English. And Comic Party is one of the first major ones that like is not available in English, but I still have like a desire to check it out.
Interesting.
We'll see.
But yeah, that's the general gist so far of just the quick Meakashi post-chapter discussion. It's probably the shortest one we've had, but that's because, I mean, we're getting just to answers. It's not a lot of questions being asked, kind of.
Yeah, you're kind of just being told what's going on, and then you're left with a couple questions, but of course, like, obviously there's more questions, there's more answer arcs, so.
Yeah.
And a lot of the questions that you are left with are ones that you've already had since the question arcs anyway. But that's why I say that I'm excited, because like the more you read the answer arcs, the more you can piece together the bigger picture as to like what's happening.
Yeah. And like I said, if I wasn't reading these at like, you know, a pace of 2 chapters for the most part a week, and I was reading them more back to back, or if I was actually going back and looking at the tips again, I would probably have a slightly more cohesive theory, let's say. But I haven't. Like, it's also just a fuck ton of info to go through. I would have to like go through all the Onikakushi ones, all the chapters 1 through 5, like notes again, all the tips, and just try to see what I can piece together from that. Because my god, it's a ton. I mean, I probably will still do it before starting the next chapter. Maybe I'll try to do that tonight. I'll kind of like look at the summaries again or something.
I would say it's not necessary. 7 is going to be the one I think that has the most answers to like long running questions. So I would say before 7, because 7 and 8 are really where you're going to be tested with your theories.
Okay.
But yeah, so like 6 is another one where it's kind of like it's almost like it's broken up into 3 sections instead of 2.
Fucking knew it. They're gonna go into Onikakushi and they're gonna fucking go into Meakashi. I knew it. Or not Meakashi. They're gonna go into Tatari Godashi. I fucking knew it. You said too much, William. I'm kidding.
All right. I was gonna say I don't want to say that you're way off base because that would be giving away too much. But
actually, this expands on like none of the chapters. Instead, it's like its own little contained story.
But it's kind of like it is kind of like, so it's like the first section could be the question arcs, right?
Mm.
Second section would be, I would even call it, the Meakashi arcs, where it's your eye opening, where you're starting to learn things, and then the 7 and 8 being the conclusion arcs, where you're kind of like you're ending the story. And I would probably throw Psychology in there, because it's, again, honorary chapter 9. It's the epilogue. But yeah, no, I think that once you finish 6, that's when Ryukishi kind of like expects you to have your complete theory.
Yeah.
Because there's not going to be a whole lot else for you to theorize on as you go through the conclusions.
So for sure, Erika breaks the cycle. She ends up being able to live past, that final year of the Watanagashi. She's able to stop the Great Hinamizawa disaster. She's revered as a great priestess, and that's what happens. And then Hinamizawa just keeps on going, and she ends up being a shrine maiden until she dies, into her adult years. She ends up growing up nicely into like an adult with a relatively normal life without dying. She breaks the cycle somehow, and Keiichi helps her with the power of friendship or some shit. This definitely is what's gonna happen.
Well, I don't have much else for the discussion.
She's gonna have a seizure in the middle of like chapter 7. She's gonna meet with Oyashiro-sama, and she's gonna be like, you can't be me. And he's like, I am thou, and thou art I. She's like, no, you can't. That's not possible. And then, she has to face her shadow, the way like Tetsuya does in like Persona 2.
I was gonna say yeah. Chapter 8 is the only one that's gonna have gameplay, because it's gonna turn into a JRPG.
I fucking knew it. It's gonna be one of those like where I have to manage my time. It's like it starts off at like 6 a.m. It's like and then like if I just skip breakfast, like Keiichi starts to hallucinate a lot more quickly. I have to manage my time, like just going to the front door is like 15 minutes. Walking to school is another 15. I fucking knew it.
Well.
But either way, I guess
Who
we'll
really died that day?
Who really died that day?
Oh, true. Who really died that day? And who came back? So far, it's been everyone. Everyone comes back. But yeah, I guess I will
Everyone
just.
everyone comes back.
I guess I'll have to find out. Tomorrow we are starting chapter 6, and that's gonna be fucking crazy. So that'll be again at 11:30 Central, or 11:30 or 11:30 a.m. Central time. So hopefully all of you join me then. So let's swap on over to the ending screen real quick.